Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. We also have lots of great content exclusive to our YouTube pages, such as product demonstrations, troubleshooting videos, and so much more. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again. If you're a Sewing Street or Yarn Lane customer, no matter how many times you check out in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. So don't wait to add the item you want to your basket and check out. You will only pay one P&P even if you check out multiple times in one day.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out. Keep up to date with what's on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane, as well as all the latest news and special offers by signing up to our email newsletters. For Sewing Street, head on over to www.sewingstreet.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and you're done. It's exactly the same for Yarn Lane. Head on over to www.yarnlane.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and that's it. You are now subscribed to both Sewing Street's and Yarn Lane's email newsletters, so you'll never miss out on the latest news and special offers ever again.
Are you a fan of Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? Why not join our growing Facebook fans pages? Just search Sewing Street Fans and Yarn Lane TV Fans on Facebook and click Join Group. It's that simple. Never miss out on the latest news and updates from our presenters and guest designers, special offers and plenty of chat with your fellow fans. Share photos of your makes, ask for advice, interact with your favourite guests and presenters and be a part of the ever-growing sewing and yarn community. See you there!
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Isn't it a lovely day today? It's a lovely day to be indoors because we have got some great shows lined up for you. And I'm joined by lovely Julie in a minute, and she is going to show us how to make a dress. But we're going to go quickly this morning because we want to get straight into those demos. So the first thing I'm going to do is our magnificent early bird offer. What we have, it doesn't look much, but it is. This is 1.5 meters of Osnaburg fabric. Now, a lot of you will know of this fabric and you'll have grabbed it in the past. You're saving £1. It's £6.50 for 1.5 meters. And it is quite wide. I'm trying to get the width for you. It's actually folded the wrong way. So this is the, I'm going to open this all up, Kat, sorry. So that's the width of it. And so Osnaburg, it's like a calico, but a little bit firmer. It's nice and soft to handle, and it has almost like a vanilla fleck in it. Sort of like a natural fleck in it. It feels lovely. It's a great fabric to use for all sorts of projects, whether it be backings or linings, or even you could really have fun with this if you wanted to get fabric paints out, or you wanted to dye it. You know, you could do a tie dye, or you could do dip dyeing, which is one of my favourites. Really lovely thing. You could make some great tote bags. Yesterday we had transfer sheets on. You could make tote bags and you could transfer images onto the bag before you sew it up. and have some really lovely personalised bags. Add buttons and lace for shabby chic, sort of antique look to it. So there's lots you can do with this. 1.5 metres, £6.50. By all means, put them in multiples. If you buy a multiple on this, it does come pre-cut. In other words, you'll get 2 times 1.5 metres, not a 3 metre piece. Just be aware of that. But you're saving £1 on each bundle. It works out at £2.16 per half metre. So it's a really good price, as you can imagine. So yes, grab this whilst you can, because we get it in and then it goes out again. So it's really fabulous. It's good for hand embroidery. It's good for, could you do Sashiko on this, Julie, do you think?
It's light, it might be a bit heavy.
Might be a bit too heavy.
Yeah,
but you could do other embroidery on it, couldn't
worth
you?
A try.
Yeah, because we've got Sashiko coming up later as well. That's why I brought that one into it. So do stock up on your Osnaburg. It's a lovely fabric to have. All sorts of things, linings, backings, whatever you want to do. And this is it. It's not a lot to look at, but it's a lovely fabric to fill. It's a sort of medium weight, and you've got a metre and a half here, and it has this lovely fleck in it, this sort of natural fleck. I don't know if you can actually see that, or we're coming in to see if we can see that fleck. I should do it with that nail, because look at that fancy nail, look. Yes, it is. It's great for doll making. This would be lovely for doll making. And I just love the fact, because it's quite plain, you can actually do things like you can paint on it, you can embroider on it, you can add trimmings to it. So you can really fancy it up if you wish, or you can keep it very au naturel. So this is really lovely. There's lots in baskets, so don't forget, what you do is you check out your basket and you pay your £3.95 post and packing, and then that is paid for the rest of the day. You don't pay the post and packing again. So when you come on to order something a bit later, maybe the fabric for the dress or the book we're going to be looking at, then you buy it again, and again you don't pay post and packing. You've paid it the once and that's it. So that's really nice to know, and it does mean you can check out when you've got something in the basket, because it's not yours until you've checked out. The other thing to very quickly look at is our panel of the week. So this is the panel of the week this week. This is Paisley Grove fabric squares. There are, I'm just turning this over, there are 40 squares on this, beautiful pinks and blues. All sort of paisley kind of look to them. Really, really pretty, on beautiful cotton, printed just for us. And this is our panel of the week. So it's been available all week at the special introductory price of £9.99. On Sunday at midnight, it goes up by £3 to £12.99. But whilst stocks last this week and this week only, it is £9.99. So this is some of the prints on one side, and when I say one side, it does actually open out, but just so you can see it, I'll do it in halves, and this is the other half. So really pretty. I mean, you could actually use sort of 9 of those panels as a cushion front on their own, just sort of go like that with them. You haven't got to cut them up. You can then do a bit of quilting to make it look lovely on them, and make a really quick, simple cushion. Looks as if you've actually pieced it together yourself. So there's lots you can do with this. Of course, you can cut them up and intersperse them with other fabrics, all sorts. So that is your panel of the week. Now, we said we're going to go quickly, so we're going to look at this brand new book. We won't look at it in detail now because we want to get straight into the demo. There are 24 patterns in here, and I love the fact that you've got full-size pattern sheets at the back, so tucked into this little pocket, keep them nice and fresh. This is the first time we've brought this book to you, but the other thing that I like about this is for normal people. It's for beginner sewers. They're all simple projects to complete. And they are photographed on normal people, normal size people, not stick thin models. Lovely, elegant ladies. And they're also hacks. So you've got the pattern, how to make it. You've got the pattern pieces, simple instructions to follow. And then they've got sort of how you can make it your own. So how you can change it. Absolutely lovely. Julie and I were saying this is one of our favourites. But what we're doing today is we are going to be doing the dress. If I find the right page, it is here. We are doing this dress. And actually you're wearing it, aren't you? Yeah. You're wearing the short sleeve version. Yeah. And you can also buy bundles of fabric to make this dress. So we'll look at those later, or you can look at them on the website. But for now, let's go straight over to, oh no, hold on. Oh, we're going to do the bundles quickly first. Okay, sorry. Let me put that book to one side. So we've got 2 denim bundles. We've got the light blue denim. So this is a lightweight. This is what you're working on today, isn't it, Julie? So you've got that one there to work with. It's nice and lightweight. It's a 3.5 metre bundle. So it's lovely, just lovely. It's plain, nice plain fabric, and it's a lightweight denim. So it does take folds, pleats, and gathers nicely. Or you can get it by the ½ metre. So if you don't want 3.5 metres, if you're thinking of a smaller project, you can get it by the ½ metre at £3 a ½ metre. Do we know what the width is? So we have a quick look at what the width is. Do you know what the width is? 115, do you think? Or is it a bit more than that? Hold on.
Oh, actually, it might be the wider one.
This might be wider, I think. Oh, I'm gonna have to unroll it all, and we'll have to get it all back together again. Right, that's the width. I'm going to measure it because it is important for us to know these things. If I can get a tape measure without a roll in it. So this is 29. So actually it's nearly 60 inches, 29 twice. What's 29 twice? No, so 30 twice is 60. So 58 inches. Or if you are in modern money, we are 150 centimetres. So it's really nice and wide. And that's £3 for ½ metre is brilliant. So £6 a metre, you know, isn't that cheap? I'm going to fold that up later. Then we have the medium blue bundle. So it's again exactly the same, 3.5 metres, lovely, soft. So you think of denim as sort of jeans, but actually this is really soft. It's a really soft weight. 3.5 metres, and it is 150 wide. So it is really nice and wide. And we can also do it by the ½ metre. So again, that's by the ½ metre, which is £3 for a ½ metre. So if you only wanted 2 metres, you times that by 4, and it will be cut to size. So it will be cut as a 2 metre piece this time. So we also have 3 more fabrics in the bulks. So we have this sort of creamy white, and it has got a self pattern on it. It's feathers. Peacock feathers, do you think? Peacock feathers. So again, this is £19.99 for 3.5 metres. And it's a sort of crisp, this is a crisp cotton. 3.5 metres, £19.99. And again, we can do it by the ½ metre, and by the ½ metre, it's £2.99, which is a really good price again. Very, very cheap. So this is really lovely. A crisp sort of cotton with a little self print on it. Very delicate. And then we have this one. This looks like sort of painterly splashes, I think. So this again is a 3.5 metre piece. There's 3.5 metres. And it's a crisp cotton again. That's actually double weight. So if I can find a single layer. It's a nice crisp cotton. It'll hold shape, and it's quite easy to sew because it's stable. So it's this. You think this would be quite a nice one, a nice sort of.
Yeah, I think that'll look nice.
Quite chic.
This design.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Also available by the ½ metre, which is £3.49 per ½ metre. So that's a nice one. And then our final one that's in a 3.5 metre bundle is the green, and this is the one that you use to make the sample. Where's it gone? Oh, it's behind me. It's behind you. So the one that Julie made earlier is this one here.
Oh, there's me modelling it.
And there's Julie modelling it. So this is lovely. This is a lovely soft cotton, isn't it?
It's
And
nice with
again,
the pattern.
and it is nice with the pattern. And pattern is a good idea, isn't it? If you're nervous about getting straight seams and things, because it
if you're
kind of
stitching
hides all
and-
sorts of sins, doesn't it? So this is a lovely lightweight for summer. And again, available by the half metre. So you can get this by the half metre at £2.99 a half metre. So again, this is a really lovely one. Very, very good price. Now, while you check out any of those pieces, let's have a quick look at the menu for the rest of the day. We have Tilly in the Buttons Suki dress with Julie Kelly. So she's going to be with me, as you know, because you've heard her a few times. And you've seen the dress. So this is the dress that you can make. And this is absolutely ideal for beginners. And you can do various hacks on it, which Julie's going to talk to us about. At 9 o'clock, I'm back with Dressmaking Tools. So some really useful items for you to have in your room if you want to venture into dressmaking. And even if you do quite a lot now, with things like the clapper, a seam roll, etc. So some really good things. Then at 10, Julie's back with Sashiko kits. So we've had these kits before, they're really popular, and she's going to show us how to do that. This is an example that Julie has already done. So you can do this sort of kit as a wall hanging or a cushion cover or a bag cover. There's lots you can do with it, but you get that lovely kit in order to make it, and Julie will show us how to stitch it. And then we've got more Sashiko at 11 o'clock. So we're going to have more kits and the special threads that you use and the needles, etc. And then come 12 o'clock, we are being joined by lovely Louise. And she is going to join us with, this is on Yarn Lane, and we have got a return of some of the favourite animal heads. They're cute little animal heads, and we are launching the brand new mouse, which has been requested repeatedly, and Louise has come true, and she's created this kit, and they come beautifully presented for you to knit, and she's going to come and share with us how to do various techniques on it to make these really cute little heads. Now, all of this is on pre-order, so the Yarn Lane one is on the Yarn Lane website and the Sewing Street is on the Sewing Street website, so it's all on pre-order, so you can grab while you can and then you can sit back and watch demos. Okay, we've had a question about the sizing of the pattern, Julie.
Okay.
What size range is it?
So it's numbered, so it's slightly, you have to look at the measurements really. So so there's like, I'm a 6 that's come up with my measurements. So, and that's, say, I went for sort of a 14, 16. So there's a grid with a chart in the beginning of the book. I'm just trying to find it. And so just, you need to take your measurements and make sure you match, because the numberings, it's not 12s, it's not, it's their number system. So it's a different,
Well,
so
what I'll do is when Julie's doing the demo, I'll look up the range that it goes from and to in measurements and then share that with you so that you know that it actually goes up. I know it has got a
it's up
wide
to size
range.
10, up to 10, and I was a 6.
Yeah, so 10 is, so you've just got to completely ignore those sizes really, because they make no sense to us if you're thinking shop bought sizes. So you said you made a 6, and that's like a 14 to 16,
and it goes up to.
So I will look at the measurements and I will tell you what measurements it goes from and to. But let's get on with the demo, shall we? Because we want to see this dress being made. I know you can't make the whole dress in.
Not quite, although some of it. Although there are timings. So,
there are timings, but we were saying they're guidance. Don't be pressured into thinking you've got to do it in that time.
I think it's trying to be helpful that if you've got a limited time, it's saying that you could do it in this time. But I would say, as we know, the cutting out can take a long time. You've got to get the pattern traced. So I think don't put pressure on yourself. It is a relatively easy make, because there's literally 4 pattern pieces, but the time's a guide, I would say, because I think it depends on your fabric if you're trying to do any matching or whatever, but the sewing is probably the quicker bit.
I agree. I think the cutting out, you need to take time, make sure you've got it laid on the fabric properly, make sure you transfer your marks properly. So make time to, and then the sewing is quicker because of it.
So I've made 3 and I managed to miss the belt notch mark every time, going, where's the belt notch mark? So
know, another trick that I have is I say keep the pattern folded with your fabric. So if you do that, It's easy to find, rather than have to scurry through the
Yeah.
envelope again trying to find it.
Yeah, so I think that is for a beginner sewer. I think if you've never come across the paper style of, because old school 30 years ago, it was the pattern that you cut out your size, whereas the modern patterns now with a book, so you've got to get your tracing paper, and so that just takes a bit of time to work out. And the dress was in 2 pieces on the pattern sheet.
Oh, I see.
So that wasn't clear. Then you had to join. So again, you sort of go, oh, that seems a bit short. If you're not used to that, you just need to sort of take your time.
Yes, so read it carefully before you start. Have a cup of coffee, sit down, read it.
Yeah. So.
It's a beautiful book to flick through, and it has got, once you've got your head around the way it works, it's got some lovely patterns, really easy. And I love the fact that she has the make it yours hacks.
Yes, lots of hacks.
So lots of things to make it. I mean, there's some very simple things, look. Just a sleep mask. So you don't have to sort of launch in with a dress. You can actually go in with something much simpler. Shorty PJs. So
and
lots to
woven
do.
and jersey as well, which is interesting.
So woven and jersey,
there's
yes, so you've got
patterns.
the option, different patterns
different
for
patterns.
those.
So if you've never done the jersey side of things, that could be your...
Yes, if you because jersey, it's really easy to sew when you know how.
Yeah.
When you use the right needle, etc.
So although I'd say it was a beginner's book,
It gives you time to expand as well.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So let's crack on then, Julie.
Right. So as you can see, I'm wearing the dress with I've done the sash belt, and this is the lightweight denim. This was a slightly heavier weight, so this is the lightweight, very similar colour, and the width of the fabric. I was just saying to Wendy that I managed to cut out, again, because I'm a little bit more experienced, it says to cut out on the fold, the front and the back, so very simple, and you literally get 1 pattern piece. So the only difference is there's a little change at the neck for the back and the front. So there's 1 pattern piece for the front and back, and you put it on the fold. But with the 150 wide fabric, with my size, the size 6, I could actually put the pattern piece down the side and ended up making a seam. So if you're a little bit more advanced, you'd know that
you do your own little hack.
Yeah, and you'd obviously need to add your seam allowance and plate, but if you wanted to save on your fabric, which I'm always trying to be sort of eco-friendly on the fabric front, if you've got that wide fabric, you could actually put your pattern piece aside. So 1 on the fold and 1 on the, you cut 2 pieces.
You could actually fold it into the centre.
You could do it that way. Probably, yeah, I didn't think of that. So, yeah. So, but I quite like, and I did a French seam on this one, and I actually put it, because the fabric's plain, I say to sort of zhuzh it up a little bit if you wanted to add some top stitching and things. So I did that. You probably can't see on the one I'm wearing, but I did actually do some top stitching around the neck of my dress that I'm wearing, and I'm actually on the sleeves as well, just because of the denim, to try and sort of look a bit jean-like. So I think you can say with the plain fabric you can dress it up a little bit, but I think if you're a complete beginner, I think it would be good to use that small print. Because I think that hides a multitude of sins.
It does
in a way.
indeed.
So these are so I've got the front and back, and I've actually done if you can see, I've done the shoulder seams, which I'll just sort of show you.
Sorry, can I just interrupt very quickly? I just have to let you know we've sold out of the denims. Does it all denim? Can they buy it by the all got? Sorry, so we have got the green, the lovely green that we've made it in, and we do have some other fabric pieces by the 1/2 metre, which we'll do at the end of the show, but you can look online now to see them if you want to. Yeah, but well done if you've got the denim. It's lovely. It's lovely denim. It's lovely, lightweight.
Really good value, that, because it's actually really nice. So if you can see, I've done the shoulder seams, which are just two straight seams, and I don't possess an overlocker, so I've got a little stitch on my machine at home that I've neatened up, and then you just need to press them towards the back. And here's the facing for the neck. So you need your interfacing to stiffen that up a little bit. And again, people can be a bit worried about adding facings. It's you're sewing and you're trying to ease in and you don't want any gathers. So it's, again, take your time. I would slow your speed down if you're a beginner, and just take your time with if you've never done a facing before.
Which interfacing did you use, Julie?
I think I used the light.
The light one?
Yeah.
Because you're using a denim, so yeah. You want to match the interfacing with the fabric, really, don't you? So light, medium.
Yeah. So we had a discussion about understitching. So there's lots of explanation in the front of the book. I think, I think the front quarter of the book goes into all the details. So if you don't possess any other sewing manual, say I've got a trusty Reader's Digest 1970s that I refer to, but this has all the details in of understitching, top stitching. There's even adjustments. So there's lots of detail in the front of the book as a beginner, and measurements. So measure yourself is on page 18, and that's what you needed to do to choose your pattern size. So so there's lots of information at the front of the book if you get stuck. It explains all the stitching the ditch, which I'd never heard about until the last year, really.
Yes, it's really useful.
Yeah, so all the information is there. I say understitch is described, and then I say when you get to your instructions, it goes into a little bit more, but it can be a bit confusing under stitching because it's like, which bit am I sewing on? And so the idea is that you've done your, if I turn it back the right way. So if you can see there, I've done this under stitching, which is very close on the facing, and then you need to make sure that you're catching in your underneath area. So me and Wendy do it slightly differently. So and then then you can press it, and that keeps that facing inside. So that's the whole
It
whole
really
idea.
makes a huge difference. You can't believe
can't miss
it.
that. You can't miss that step out, really. So
It's basically you're stitching the seam allowance to the facing, and then when you've turned it in, it won't roll out. It really does make a huge difference.
So I think if you've not done that before, I love the challenge of keeping it as neat as possible and close, but you really need to just slow it down for that. So you don't want to wiggle around with the understitch because you need to keep on the facing. So I'm just going to do a little bit of carry on doing my understitch. So I've done one half, and just make sure I've got the forward pedal.
Okay. So I'm looking at the sizing. Whilst Julie's doing that, I'm looking at the sizing in the book, and the sizing is for each garment. And it's got here a UK 6, which is a waist 34.5 inch, and hips, this is on the trousers, hips 35.5. So that is not what we would call a standard size 6, because obviously the 34.25 inch waist, 34.25 inch waist, it's actually more like, as you said, 14, 16, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what you need to look at is not the sizing. Don't worry about the sizing, and that's the same with any pattern, absolutely any pattern at all, whatever brand it is. What you want to look at is your measurements. So on this, I'm just looking at trousers. I'll look at the dress in just a second. So this is, it depends whether you're in metric or imperial. So a UK 6 is 34.25 inch waist. Now, remember, this is that's the finished garment measurements. I do beg my pardon. Look at the body measurements, makes much more sense. So this is the body measurements here on this side. Can you see this side, Paul? So a UK 6 is 24 inches for the waist. That makes more sense.
That makes sense.
And the hips are 33. So you're looking at that, and then the largest size it goes up to is a 42 inch waist and 51 inch hip. Now remember, this is the body measurements, this is your pattern sizing, and then you also have your finished garment measurements, which is what I was looking at earlier. And the difference between the two are how much ease is included. And the ease is wearing ease, and it's also designer ease. So if it's supposed to be a loose fitting garment, you'll have more ease than you will on a tight fitting garment. If I look at the sizing on the dress, let's look at the dress we're working with this time. So it's very, very clear on how to do this. So again, we've got these side by side this time. So the body measurement for the dress, the bust for size 6 is 30 inches. Waist 24 as before, hips 33. So you sort of look down here and you decide to just ignore that bit and decide which one it is. You need it when you're looking at the pattern tissue or the pattern paper pieces, because you'll need to cut by that size. But don't go by that size, go by your measurements and then look at the size to determine which one you're cutting. You might go from one to another. Most people do. Very, very few people are the same size bust, waist, hip. So you might well be a bigger bust, as I am, and then go into the waist and then out at the hips. So you can do that on the pattern by going from one cutting line to the other. Nice and easy on a multi-size pattern. So very wide range, as I say. So we're going from a 30-inch waist, 30-inch bust, up to a 48-inch bust on this dress. So everyone seems to go from the size, what they're calling 6 to 24. But look at the measurements. So I do hope that's answered your question, probably, and some. Sorry.
And there are adjustments, as it talks about, if you wanted to get clever and started playing with lengthening or shortening. So it does explain that in the front, which is quite, for a beginner, it might be a bit challenging, but it's worth probably making one up, seeing how it fits, and then next time having a little play. So I don't know if you can see. So I've done that under stitch. So I say for the one I'm wearing, I actually added a top stitch. I just thought with the plain fabric, you could add a little bit of detail there around. If you're confident with your If you're not confident with your top stitching, then probably don't. But
leave it out.
Yeah. So I say that's the facing, and that is practically the dress made. And then you've got to do the side seams, turn the hem in, and the sleeves. I say obviously put it on, see where you want the length. So I say it's sort of a mid. I say you can't see. It's just below. It's just below. But you see it in the picture.
It's just just below the knee, just above the calf.
So it covers your knees if ladies want their knees covered. So so it's quite generous on its. I say mine was a size 6, which I think is more like a 14, 16. But so I say it's a nice simple shape. But actually, I think you could dress it up in different fabrics, and you
can. But also, if you wore sort of a statement jewellery, come on, Esme with her statement jewellery. If you wore a statement jewellery piece, that would look lovely on the neck. Big brooch. I love the fact that you've had a play with the belt.
Yeah. So this is the sash. Say it's. I've never really made a sash belt before. It's quite, So you've got both sides to play with.
And it looks nice unbelted too. Now you've just taken the belt off, so you don't have to have a belt.
And the pattern actually talks about the belt loops, which is on the green, which I'll demonstrate and things. So again, it's up to you whether you want to add them or if you find that too constricting.
They're the belt loops.
So I actually didn't want to put the belt loops on. I decided, I know you might lose your belt, but I quite like the idea that it's not quite so fixed. But
I do, because I think, as I say, it looked nice without the belt, and you can swing the belt round and have the tie at the back, can't you?
Yeah,
so how you wear it's up to you.
We said that maybe
I like
if
that.
you wanted to sort of show off the fabric a little bit, and I went sort of my Japanesey sort of theme, but look a bit skew with there, something in the picture, but maybe it's my waist, but
got skew with waist.
one leg, So, but you could add, you could have it either way around, and you could, we talked about making that a slightly, you could do a nice shape.
You could do.
So you could do a little sort of lozengey sort of shape or something to add. With the plain fabric, you could have a little play with, I think, with the belts. If you've got some scraps or a little bit of fabric that you've actually always liked but didn't know what to do with it, so you could play around. Had a few different belts. So put that back in the middle. So so with the dress, it's one pattern piece. You just need to remember to add the bottom bit, otherwise you're not going to have a very long dress. So that's was a little bit confusing in the pattern sheets. And then you just alter the neck. So it does give you a back.
Gives you 2 options.
Yeah, it gives you a back and a neck line. And then the facing, and then for the sash, there's actually no pattern pieces. So don't start looking for pattern pieces because it's a massive line. So if you're new to it, you sort of go wow. But actually, the instructions are in with the sash, so you need to do some measuring. So, but you could, if you liked it. I mean, I might be tempted to make my own pattern pieces up, and then I'm not.
So you could use it again and again without having to remeasure every time.
So actually it might be easier to actually just make your own.
But I think it's like you say, this makes, I mean, it's, yes, you have to do the measurements and work that out, but you're only cutting out a rectangle. It's not a difficult thing to cut out, but you could change the shape of it if you so wished. You could, as you say, make it more like an oboe belt. You could make it thicker, you could make it shaped.
Yeah. So, or add different, your tie could actually be a different colour as well. That would be quite interesting if you did a sort of bold colour with that. So, So I think with the plain fabric that works. As I say, I kept it the same on the green, so I think that works. Yeah, you could put a white belt or a maybe a darker green if you really wanted to sort of emphasise your waist.
Yes, and we were saying this dress works for all sorts, doesn't it? You could wear it smart for the office, so in that lovely, we got the grey still, in that lovely grey for the office, very chic looking. You could have a black belt with that, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Or colour. Pop a colour in with it.
Yeah,
A nice
yeah.
bright red belt would be my choice. So the dress is very, very simple, and you can make it again and again and again in different fabrics. And then you can do your own hacks. I hate that word hack, actually.
Yeah,
you can do your own customising, where you can have the button loops, not have the button loops. You can make the belt slightly differently. You don't even have to make the belt. You could buy a belt. So you could buy a sort of evening-y belt, a nice glittery belt, so you could take it into the evening. This made in black, I mean, you don't have to wear black for the evening, but if you make it in, you could make it in a satiny fabric.
Yeah, a bit more
couldn't
drapey.
you?
Yeah, a bit
more
more
drapey, and then you could wear a really nice belt with it, which you don't have to make. You can buy a belt. This is up to you because you're making it, but it's a lovely, simple design, and that's the whole thing about the whole book. It does actually say at the beginning, I've just got the pattern out to have a quick look at, but it does say at the beginning there's no sort of tricky fastenings. It's all simple. Elasticated waist. But then you cover that. You don't, because I know elasticated waists don't necessarily suit those of us with a chunkier middle, but you cover it with a longer line tunic top or something which is baggy, or a belt.
So I think if you've never
So you
made
can-
trousers, that would be a brilliant one, because
They
you're not
are
doing
brilliant.
flies, you're not
Yes,
doing zips, you know.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah, no buttonholes, as we see on Sewing Bee, the buttonholes that seem to be a challenge.
They're easy.
Once you know that your machine does them, then but there's quite a nice hack, but you can, there's a colour block with this dress, so that's quite interesting. So
Yes.
page 112, so you could, really, it takes me back to I think my 18th birthday dress looked a bit like that. So you could go a bit 80s, I think, with that, which and add different, if you've got some different colours you wanted to add to your denim, or different patterns, you could really. Yeah.
You really could.
Yeah, that's
couldn't
quite
you?
unusual. Yeah, so I think that looks quite.
It does look good.
Quite dramatic. So for an evening one, maybe, and long sleeves, short sleeves. So this one is really, versatile. This dress, although it's simple, I think, if you've got your jewellery or your belt, or you can really, and you could make lots of them quite quickly.
Yes.
I think that's So I think it is, And there's some quite clever shortcut steps, which I must admit I didn't look at closely. But it's if you're sort of new and wondering, why it's taking you so long, there are some shortcuts of what to press, when to stitch things together. Some people might do it automatically if you're used to sort of sewing, but this would be good to sort of.
It gives you an idea of what order to do things quickly and easily. Yes.
Because I think I managed to put one of the facings on and I hadn't done any edge stitch, but it'd already sewn on, but I could still do it.
Yes,
I was like,
of course you can. Yeah.
So,
No, I think this is great. Now, this is just one of the patterns pieces. There's two in the box. Now, what I would recommend, Julie, I'm not sure if you would, but because, as you say, there's lots of lines going over and the pattern pieces go over each other, I would use like a day glow pen or something to go around the piece and the size I'm going to be tracing off and then tracing off.
That's the bit that you need to really take time and say. It wasn't obvious on the bottom of the dress. There's normally sometimes arrows or little triangles to match up, but actually there was a dotted line. That was all. It wasn't obvious. I'm not sure what, because I think I was going to, I don't know what made me go, is that the bottom? Because it wasn't a solid line. So I went, there must be another bit.
Yes.
So I think just to be wary on that
take
one.
the time to look for
have a good look at those pieces and say, some of the lines, it's probably a good idea, I don't, but to bold the one you're doing, and then it's obvious when you're trying to trace it off. But and then you can make, I'm making friends ones, and you can up the sides, and it's quite nice, isn't it? Because
Now, we've had a question. Irene has asked, can you add pockets?
Da-da. Oh, can you see?
Can you see? She's got pockets.
So, da-da. And I actually did a bit of a hack I had some nice Liberty style. I won't say it is Liberty. So yes, we all love pockets on dresses, ladies, don't we? So
absolutely.
So and they come. There is.
sheets.
I think it was part of another pattern within the book, so you don't need to try and draft your own pattern pieces for pockets.
I was going to ask that.
So they're with. Let me think. Might be the trouser pattern. So there's definitely pockets within here. There is a pattern piece, and then you follow another pattern within the book about how to add them. So
and they're very easy to add pockets.
Yeah. So,
side seam pockets, you can actually retrofit side seam pockets. Just have to open up your seam.
Do you know what? I did that. because I put that dress on when it's missing something, so I actually did.
Yes, so you put some pockets in.
Yeah, so
but equally, if you're hippie and you don't want pockets and there's a dress with the pockets in, don't put them in. This is always the thing when you're making your own. You don't have to religiously follow it.
Yeah.
You can.
Whereas I
make
think when
your
I
own
was
little tweaks.
starting off in sixth form, you just did exactly what it said. But I definitely now add pockets. I've even done a pocket in a French seam on a dress I did recently. I was quite pleased. So definitely add the pockets, and they're just, and it sits nice. I say. So yeah, put them in if you want your pockets. But there's definitely a piece in there, and I can't remember where it's in. There's definitely within the book there is how to put pockets in. So if you're not sure,
brilliant.
so yeah, definitely.
If you want to start on the belt, I'm going to measure the width of this ivory fabric.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 45 inches wide, Katie. So we've had a question. How wide is it? 45 inches. That's the ivory. That's this one here.
I've just found it is with the trousers where the pockets. So there's some more ideas. So hand print your fabric, which we talked about, and I like block printing, so I was nearly tempted to do. And the pattern in the book is actually she's block printed this denim. So in the book, so she's added some sort of sponge block printing. Add side seam pockets. Hem the dress into a top that finishes at the hip. So we talked about. Yeah,
yes,
that
if you have
actually
extra, because this fabric is so wide, those that have got the denim, it's so wide you'll have more than you probably need, and you can probably make a little top out of it, and you can just hack the pattern by doing it.
Yeah, cropped sleeves. So if the long one you wanted sort of more mid, add narrow elastic to the inside of the waist. So all sorts of tricks and things that you could start playing around with. I think if you make the first one and just see how you feel with it, and as I didn't put the belt loops on because I quite like that it was sort of a bit freer, but so it's up to you.
And I like the fact you can wear it without the belt if you wish to.
Yeah.
So that gives you, if you've got the belt loops, you can't
do that.
Yeah. So I like the fact you can have two looks from one dress.
Yeah. So the dress to me is quite the simple sort of make. So it all gets a little bit technical if you're new to sewing, to make the sash. It's called a sash actually, sash belt. So we had a little discussion about how we turn things through. So you do need some sort of gadget, I would say, to do some turning. So I've made, get my bits out. So this is the sash, and you end up putting interfacing, especially with this thinner denim, you do need to sort of stiffen it up a little bit. So I don't think I did, because this is heavier weight denim that I'm wearing. So otherwise it was just going to be too bulky. So you just put interfacing on half of your sash on the wrong side, see? And then I don't know if you can see that I've made up one tie and just pinned it in place, and we're just going to have a go at doing the other tie. Yeah. So wrong sides together, you're just going to sew that channel, and then I discovered these not that long ago of how to turn things through, and I've got friends who use chopsticks and
I use chopsticks. I use string. I think Tilly says to use string, doesn't she?
She does. There is a short technique in the front about putting some stitches in, and Wendy, you can you can talk about.
So
that.
basically, you fold the fabric as you have done, right sides together, but then you put a piece of string. Good old string, or shoelace. I often use shoelaces. And you sew across the short end at the top, catching the string, but the rest of it is in the fold. So when you sew the long edge, you're not catching it. And then basically you can pull on it to turn the loop through, and then you cut your string off and you use it again. That's how you do. So
it's definitely mentioned in the book. I had a go with this fabric and it didn't work. So I resorted to my Turner, whatever, I don't know what it's called, gadget that...
It is a loop turner.
Loop turner. So you slot your tube inside, and then you get your, chopstick or whatever. Yeah, it does come with these, and you literally push through, and ta-da! It's the best thing. So it's like magic.
It really is, isn't it?
And then you just have a little play, because you try and get your nice, neat corners as much as you can. So easy as that. I've struggled before with safety pins, and yeah. And
we do have a loop turner, which we've got as well. It's not the Prim turners. It's a Millwood one actually, but it's the traditional one. We do have that on the website.
So you've got your tube, and then you obviously do need to give it a little bit of a press and get that seam on the edge. So So again, if you've not done that, that's a new trick. So then just getting your, so this is your tie, and you just want to get a nice, because that is going to be on show, so you want to sort of make that look, and there is some top stitching. Say on the denim, I think that looks nice that you can top stitch it. So I'm just trying to get that seam on that edge. I must get myself a little iron.
They're very useful.
Very handy. No, the big, my big heavy thing's a bit clunky when you're doing something like this.
My sister had one of these for her birthday. Her husband was watching with her one day, and she got this as a surprise birthday gift. Very pleased with it.
So that's your other tie. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. So I could just do some top stitching on that, and then I can add it. Should I do that?
I think because I think that's nice, because not everybody knows what top stitching is.
Yeah.
So let's show it. We've got about 7 minutes, Julie.
Okay. So which end? I'd start at the open end and say, again, take your time. I say I'm a bit of a speed merchant when it comes to sewing. I like sometimes it's easier to sew quicker. Sometimes it's because the feed will bring it through, but I might lengthen my stitch, she said, if I know which button it is.
So it'd be one of the plus buttons on the right hand side.
Should we try? Oh yes, that one. So you might want to add a slightly longer stitch for top stitching, because you are trying to sort of, it is a bit of a showy, so you probably don't need to do a reverse at the end, because it's going to actually get caught into the seam.
If you're nervous about doing top stitching as a beginner, you don't have to do it. But and also you could do it in a matching thread rather than a contrast, so that it's doing the job of holding the seam flat without necessarily being a feature.
So just slow down when you're getting to the end, because you just want to make sure you don't scoot off the end. And I just do I'm just going to turn the corner. It's probably my wiggliest top stitching I've ever done.
Why? Is that because you're working at a really funny angle?
I'm standing in heels, that's what.
Standing in heels and working at a strange angle.
Yeah, I don't normally stand to sew. Try not
If you're newbie to sewing, please don't stand and work at this strange angle that Julie's working at. Have the machine in front of you.
As a physio, it's not the best to be leaning and but So don't look. This is not. I'm actually.
It does look beautiful when it's in contrast like that.
So you don't need the reverse. Needle sticks in. So I say probably a 5 out of 10, I think, for that. But no, actually, it's not too bad. I don't know if you can zoom. So probably don't zoom in on that. So.
Leslie has asked, what fabric do we recommend for an absolute beginner? What would you say, Julie?
I'd definitely go patterned, a small pattern, I think. You don't have to pattern match, you're not trying to pattern match any side seams or whatever. It shows any misdemeanors on sewing if you were going to try some top stitching things. I think a small pattern, nice pattern print would work well for this, I think. Because it's quite a plain structure. There's no darts and things that are going to cut up. So I say in the book, there's that nice pattern with fabric with faces on. So if you did have something bolder, it would work really well. So it depends what's in your stash, I think, if you've got, but...
We have got some really lovely pattern fabrics in the next hour, which we can show you. So keep watching for that. And I would say, exactly as Julie has said, what she said, plus a stable cotton is brilliant. So don't try and go slinky or chiffony or heavy duty.
Not as your first,
Not if you're a brand newbie. Nice cotton fabric. We've got some nice cotton fabrics here. I love this blue.
This was a heavier weight, and I did worry that it was, and it is a bit thicker and the seam's a bit chunkier. So, but if you're, I did do a French seam. I thought, well, maybe that's a bit thick, but so you could do it in a slightly heavier than the cotton lawn. I presume you'd what do you call,
This is just 100% cotton.
Yeah.
Later on we've got some cotton poplin which are a lighter weight.
Yeah.
I think because of the style of this dress you could actually use pretty much any fabric, honestly and truly. I think it would look nice in velvet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it would have that rich
Yeah.
colour velvet, and again you can either use it with the belt or without a belt.
I
Just
think
make
it
as a
does
nice
actually in the
shift.
book. It does talk about fabric. So the chambray it talks about linen, maybe a lightweight
Yes.
linen. That would if you
It's,
don't mind.
it's a style that would actually suit, and also a really bold print. Because as you say, there's no darts and seams at the front or anything to cut up a bold print. So I got a really beautiful bold print.
I say one of them on here, so you haven't got anything. Yeah, you're not breaking it up with anything. So I think a nice bolder print would probably work because you're then sort of piece of art really because you're showing it off. Yeah, the lady in her long sleeved. So it's page 100. Yeah.
So in here, I've got a whole section on choosing your fabric.
Yeah, which I think is really useful if you're not familiar with the terms and what's chambray and so.
Because on the back of the pattern, it often will say these are suitable fabrics, and you do take notice of what it says because they've been tried and tested. But there'll be one or two that you don't know what they are. So it's quite good to have this, and then you've got the sort of explanations of some of these. These are sort of the good standard fabrics.
I say just to demonstrate, so the belt loops, which is on the green, so that's just one piece that has got interfacing on the wrong side, and then it tells you just need to, and if you can see that, you just need to neaten off one edge, and then you do a little bit of clever folding and fold all that in, and then that is going to be again top stitch down each side, and then literally cut up into 4. So again, it says about choosing your best bit of top stitching, but and then you just need to, there is clear instructions on, but you need to try your dress on because the dot on the might just not be in the right
place for you.
It might be a bit too high. I think it was definitely not anywhere near where I would want belt loops. So you do need to put, once you've made your dress, put that, actually I think you do it before you sew all your side seams up. Yeah, do it before you sew your sides.
But that also gives you a little bit of a fitting
yes.
as well, doesn't it? You can see when if you just put it on and you haven't sewn the side seams yet, pin them, and then you can see how it's fitting on you, and whether or not you can take it in or leave, take narrower seam allowances.
Yeah, and so you just have to read it carefully because it's telling you all these different things. I think you just need to be clear on what you plan to do. So you might decide not like I didn't put the belt loops on and just make the sash. That's quite an easy, if you've never made little belt loops, you think, oh, that was easy. You just neaten one side, fold it all in, and then you're going to do some top stitching and literally cut into 4. So I might just, so we've got the sash. So you actually you pin them in. You're going to do a little bit of stay stitching so they sort of stay, and then you end up, and this is the tricky bit, you don't want to catch your belt ties in when you're sewing it up. So you're going to literally sew. I've probably been a bit generous with my interfacing over there, but you're going to sew along the edge and actually turn through, which it describes. It's all there's a whole page on making the sash, so I think it is clear, but if you've never made one before, you just need to sort of take your time again. So that's just going to be folded and sewn and turned through.
So do you leave a turning gap in the middle?
Yes, leave a little bit, 5 centimetres I think, so just a gap, and it does say, it explains, it's very clear, it's like put your little pins just so you don't get carried away and
That's a really top tip. Pin your gap.
Yes, pin it in different direction or vertical or something.
I double pin. I double pin so I know it's a gap.
Yeah. So so you just say you could, for safety's sake, if you're not sure, just pin you might want to actually just pin your ties so they don't end up caught in your stitching, because that would be a bit of a disaster as well. So but and I did. Once it's made, so I did it all plain and then added that afterwards.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I added that thinking, actually that's a bit dull. I'll add, so I just folded all the edges in and added it in after. So it does mean I've got sort of slightly 2 lines of stitching on the other side, but
that's fine.
Yeah,
that's another
so it was an
feature.
afterthought. Yeah, so again, you could sort of play, you could do, I did think of doing some Sashiko. In some nice coloured threads on that side.
Yes,
so,
or from machine embroidery with the lovely decorative stitches.
Yeah. Haven't got them on my machine. I've got a simple, very basic machine. So, but
I think that's really lovely. So, is there any other bits that you want to show us?
I think I say the sash, if you're planning to do that, I say there's no pattern piece, you just need to cut your rectangles out, and I say have a little play. I say you could use some different fabric for the ties, or just make a plain one to start with and see what you think. And yeah, you could widen it even. You could have a good play with the shape.
And how have you hemmed it? What's the hem?
The hem is literally 2 folds in
so it's double turned hem.
Yeah,
so it's top stitched hem.
Yeah. So yeah, no hand stitching, just literally.
Speaking to me.
Sorry, was that?
No, I love it.
So just a simple fold. Yeah, just get your
double
press.
fold hem.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
and I would always recommend hanging a garment for 24 hours before hemming. You don't have to worry too much on a straight dress.
Yeah.
But if you have anything which has got sort of an A-line, so it's on the bias, the sides can droop.
Oh right.
So if you let it hang for 24 hours, and then you can level up the hem before you hem it.
So hemmings are I'm not a fan of the hem. Hence why I made this dress with the border print that I didn't need to hem of a bedspread. So
yeah, she's made a dress out of a bedspread.
So I'll wear that next time.
I'll wear that next time. It sounds fascinating. You've done like tears and
yeah. It was a 70s style, but I used a 50p Indian bedspread. So I was quite pleased, but I didn't need to hem, luckily, because it was quite large of a ruffle. So so I'll wear that next time.
So this pattern that Julie's been demonstrating is from the Tilly and the buttons, Make It Simple. This is brand new today to us, and a lot of the projects can be done in an afternoon, but don't be pressurised into that. Just have that as a guide, so you don't have to feel you've got to do it in that time. 24 patterns, we've just looked at one, and they're 24 lovely designs, and I love the fact that they are designed for normal people, normal sizes. And the sizing is, each of the pattern has the size guide. It has the measurements for your body measurements, which is what the size you then choose. And then it has the finished garment size, so you can actually see how it's going to finish. Is it going to be loose fitting or close fitting? I think most of these are loose fitting garments, aren't they?
And
because there's no zips and things in there.
And there's a whole Instagram followers. And I didn't know what TATB stood for going, what's TATB? Tilly and the Buttons.
Oh right, yes.
So if you're looking up on Instagram, TATB
hashtag, Tilly and the Buttons.
Yeah, there's a whole pages of how people have hacked. Yeah, personalised.
Customised,
yeah. So I was on various Facebook groups and didn't know what TATB stood for a long going. What is TATB? So it's because it is a bit Tilly and the Buttons is a bit of a.
So and if any of you don't know, Tilly was on the first Great British Sewing Bee series. That's where she started. I mean, she's already could sew, but you have to be an amateur when you go on there. You're not allowed to be sort of professional or make money out of it. So this is when she kind of launched her pattern brand from it.
Oh, wow.
So she's done really, really well. It's got everything in here. It's really good. So you've got your instructions, which are very simple to follow, with lovely diagrams all the way through. The layout, so you know how to put your pattern pieces on the fabric to get the best out of the fabric. And then these are your so these sort of shortcut steps are basically sort of putting it all in very concise detail of how you can put it together. But then you've also got the more lengthy descriptions if you want them. And don't be frightened of using jersey fabric. Start with a plain cotton fabric, which is perfect, or a viscose or something that's stable, so it's easy to sew. If you go to use a jersey or a stretch fabric, you just need to use a stretch or a ballpoint needle. But it says that in the book. It does tell you that. It tells you how to do that. It doesn't expect any particular knowledge on this at all. It's all very, very clear. And I like the fact that you've got, as well as you've got the lovely photographs, and which are brilliant photographs, as I say, they're on normal people, yay! But you've also got the line drawings, which means you can possibly see more detail than you can see on a photograph, because you get to actually sort of see the pieces and how they are. But look at how all these instructions are very clear, step by step. So it really is lovely. And what is this? $19.99 for 24 patterns. I mean, that's such a good deal. You do have to trace the patterns off. There's 3 pattern sheets. So you trace them off, you trace off the one that you're following, so you keep your pattern sheets pristine really, which means you can then do the other garments, you can do another size. So if, as you're saying, Julie, you're making that for friends and things, you can make different sizes because you haven't actually cut up this. But it does mean you need pattern tracing paper. You can use brown paper, but you've got to be able to see through it in order to trace off. And I recommend that you find out what size you're making, having taken your measurements, and then you just mark. I use like a day glow, pen highlighter to mark the size you're cutting, because each of the sizes has a different type of cutting line. I don't know if you can see that on here. So you know which one to follow depending on which size you have determined you are. So it does take a little bit of time cutting out the pattern, and I personally prefer to do that. I cut out the pattern, cut out the fabric, put it all away, and I sew the next day, because I find that, because it can be, you've got to concentrate and you've got to get it right, and then I just find it's quite easy then to just relax and sew the following day.
Check you've got your pieces.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it's, if you're on, I'm on the knees in my daughter's bedroom on the carpet. So, and the cat's joining in, and I think that takes longer than the sewing, actually, cutting the.
It certainly can do.
So.
Now, the only fabrics that we have left are the silver by the 1/2 metre and the ivory by the 1/2 metre. So it's this one, which is £3.49 per 1/2 metre. So the pattern says you need 3 if you wanted to do this particular pattern. It's like a sort of painty, it's sort of like somebody sort of with a paintbrush, isn't it? It's nice. I think this is quite chic. What's the width of this one? Do we know, Kat? I would think it's the same, to be honest. It's usually 44 inches. But again, it's a lovely fabric. It's a nice crisp cotton. It will look very chic, I think, this. And then, as I say, you can sort of keep it really nice grey belt if you want, or silver if you're going to go out in the evening. Or you could have a splash of colour. And lots of colours go with grey. So you could have fuchsia pink, purple, red, green. And that, and if you, like you, don't put the belt loops on, you could actually have different belts, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So you could mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
And I think it also looks nice unbelted. And of course, we also have the ivory by the 1/2 metre, but not by the panel. The bundles have all gone. So this is by the 1/2 metre, and if you can get in close, Paul, there is a pattern in here. Can we fold it a bit more? Can you see it? Let me see if I can see it. Hold on. Are you folding it up after, Paul? Hold on. It's hard to unfold it one more. There's so many layers here. But you're getting 1/2 metre for £2.99, because this is the bundle which is now sold out. So I've got to fold it up beautifully because somebody's bought this. Can you see? It is. It's like peacock feathers, isn't it? Yeah. So it's very delicate. It's really nice, and it does catch the light. But it is hard to show in here because we've got so many lights. It's a cream. It's not white. It's an ivory white. Oh, yes. So that shows it more clearly, doesn't it? Shows the design on it more clearly. So, and we do have... So these are the only fabrics we've got left on this one, but we have got some more fabrics in the next hour which will be suitable for this as well. We've got a whole dressmaking hour with dressmaking tools. So I'll see you after the break.
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Hello everyone, I'm Delphine Brooks. It's so great to be here and part of the Sewing Street family. I'm local, I'm only down the road in Warwickshire. I started sewing many years ago when I was very young, doing lots of art and painting, and eventually I went into textiles, and I really enjoyed doing the two together. I then had a bit of a break. Something you don't know about me maybe is that I spent many years in the Royal Air Force and eventually in the police as well. And then I went full circle and I've come back to my happy place of sewing, and which I really enjoy. My best sewing tip is measure twice and cut once. I have chipped up a couple of times by not measuring properly, and I do always regret it. So now I always measure twice, cut once. Anyway, I really hope to be with you again soon, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Have you heard about all of the different ways you can shop with Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? You can either shop on our websites, sewingstreet.com and yarnlane.com. You can also order by phone by calling our friendly UK customer service team. For Sewing Street, call 0800 001 4433, and for Yarn Lane, call 0800 4700 600. And don't forget about the Sewing Street app. Here you can shop all of the Sewing Street products as well as watch the live shows from anywhere. You can download the app onto your smartphone or your tablet by simply searching Sewing Street in your app store. And one final thing, no matter how many times you check out on Sewing Street or Yarn Lane in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. Happy shopping! If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Keep up to date with what's on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane, as well as all the latest news and special offers by signing up to our email newsletters. For Sewing Street, head on over to www.sewingstreet.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and you're done. It's exactly the same for Yarn Lane. Head on over to www.yarnlane.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and that's it. You are now subscribed to both Sewing Street's and Yarn Lane's email newsletters, so you'll never miss out on the latest news and special offers ever again.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
Welcome back. This time I'm here surrounded by sewing goodies for dressmakers, which I absolutely love, and a lot of them I have, and some of them I saw on the show for the first time a while ago and bought immediately. So I'm going to share lots of these. Now let's start with this curve ruler. So if you're thinking about doing any sort of pattern alterations, or if you need to do any pattern alterations, this is fantastic. It's also good for marking buttonholes. You see it's got little slits down the side here. It's got these measurements in inches and centimetres, but you've also got sort of buttonhole markings and that way too. So this tells you the width of the buttonhole if you need to do that. It's got this lovely curved edge, so this is really good if you have to resize something, if you wanted to add a curve in because maybe you've got narrow shoulders. We had this before. You've got narrow shoulders and you need to take in the sleeve here because otherwise the sleeve's hanging off your shoulder and you have to recurve, then you can use this to recurve. So it's really very handy. And actually talking about adding patch pockets, this is a very good sort of pocket shape as well that you could use. You want to make it slightly bigger than that, but you could use that and then you add seam allowance all the way around it to actually create your own pocket panel. A lot of markings. You've got armhole curve, hip curve, front neckline, back neckline. So you use various aspects of this to mark. And on the back, it shows you just how. So you've got lots of instructions. It's also good for knitting. So this is a dressmaker now, but if you happen to trace off diagrams or things for knitting or you want to check shape, you can do it there. You can change style. So I often will change a neckline. I can't have something that's too high on my neck. So I can change the neckline using a curve ruler. It's sort of like a bit of a French curve in here with a straight ruler as well. There's lots of uses, adding seam allowances, rounding out points. There's lots you can do all very detailed on the back here. So this is a really lovely thing to have. It's not too big either. So if you need to take this to classes, because you can get French curves which are sort of very long and therefore hard to take with you when you go to workshops and classes and things. This is quite a nice one, and it is a good acrylic. So it's a nice sturdy ruler. First time, £9.99. So it's a really good price, and it really does save time trying to get those perfect curves and things, as well as doing your straight edges, your buttonholes, and as I say, changing the armhole, the neckline, etc. So very useful tool to have if you're doing some dressmaking. So that's the first one. Now we're going to look at the clapper. So Julie, are you watching? Julie said, I haven't got a clapper. So this is how it comes in its nice box here. What it says, it's made out of beechwood. It's a 2-in-1 point presser and clapper. So you use the point pressing handle to flatten small areas such as collars and cuffs. It's all written on the back there for you. So what I've got here is I've got a couple of things. So you've got different parts that you can use. Now the point of using one of these is if you cannot press your fabrics firmly and you need to press in. For instance, you're working with the PU we had on yesterday, or thick woolen fabrics, something that you can't necessarily press hard, velvets, etc. You want to use a clapper, because you can press with that. So you're going to add steam and then you press. So I've just got a couple of little things to show you. So rather than trying to just press that, which might be difficult to press, this isn't particularly thick, but it is a sort of coating here. What I can do is I can add steam. I'm not sure if I can press the steam button on this. Possibly haven't got any water in it actually. Steam on or steam off. Hold on a second. That's probably steam off. Let's put that down again. So I can just press that, and then having pressed it, because you can't use the iron for too much, you just really want steam, I can use the clapper. Now, if I've got, as I have here, a dart, so I want shape, what I would do is I would press, I can use this up this way if I want to, but I want to just get into that point, and I'm using, so I've got the steam, which helps, and then I'm just pressing into that point, and then I can press, so you want to, if this is a bust dart, you press it down. So I've used steam to get the fabric pliable, and then I can use the clapper just to press. So you use it with your sort of more difficult fabrics, your thicker fabrics. So then I've actually pressed in that shape because I want a shape. So if I was working on this, for instance, so this is a curved seam. So again, what I want to do is I want to use the points, and I find it easier to turn it upside down. I'm probably being cack-handed, but I find it's easier. So the first thing to do is to steam it. So we just sort of put lots of steam. So I'm just going to, we could do, if we can get some water, I can do with steam. Because obviously this iron is used repeatedly, and so it's run out of its water. Actually, I've got water here. I could probably have poured that in it. So I'm just doing that gently with the iron. And then I'm just going to use the clapper. So how you, because it's got curved edges, so how you use it's up to you. So I can do it like this. But again, what I want to do, because this is a curved seam, I'm not trying to press it flat, but I'm using the clapper to press those seams open. And then I can just literally hold it on there. And because it's beechwood, it'll take some of the moisture out of the fabric that you've put in from the steam. Oh, brilliant, thank you. Where do I put it in, Kat? Sorry. So I'll just do that here. So I'm now, again, I'm pressing in a shape. So I use the tip to go around the shape, and then I can use the flat bit. So it's really handy to have, and it's for fabrics that you can't put a lot of heat and a lot of the iron on. You can't, and you need, and particularly for things like the PU. I'm using it on this fabric, but if I had some of that PU, you know, the faux leather that we had yesterday, That is really useful for things like that, for leathers, faux leathers, PV. We've with Kelly from Living in Loveliness, we've had the plastic, and you can't iron it. So what you can use is you can use your clapper. So if you need to put steam on, you can put your steam on. Is it going to steam? Do I have to press a button? Steam on me, come on. I think it is, but it's not being very noisy about it, so you can't necessarily hear it. So having done that, you can then just use, so I can use it on the side, or you can use it, if you can hold it like that, you can use it flat on the bottom. So what you're doing is you're just pressing, and I'm pressing with the pointer because I want to press the curve of that seam in. So that is a seam, for instance, if that was going over a body or a bust, it would go over the curve nicely now. And equally, if you need to press seams open, again, here's a seam, and I can just steam it. Now, I wouldn't be steaming it if it was PU. So I'm just very gently. So I would just be, I'm only steaming it because it's a woolen fabric. If it was PU or plastic or anything like that, I would just be using this. So I can just hold that in place, and that is pressing that seam without using the iron. So I'm not putting a huge amount. I am pushing down on it, but I'm not putting a huge amount of pressure because it is relatively heavy. It's not overly heavy to handle, but it is relatively heavy, so you put it down. And it's nice and sturdy, and what you've now got is a nice flat seam. Now, we also have hams and sleeve rolls for your ironing, and you can use these as well, and you can actually use both together, in fact. Get all of that fluffy off. So here we've got a ham. Now this is a ham because it looks like a ham, and it's stuffed, it's quite firm. And the idea of the ham is it's got all of these curved edges. So when you're pressing darts, rather than press them flat, which you really don't want to do, you want to press your darts so that they keep the shape. Because if you press them flat, you're not doing the job that the dart is supposed to do. So a dart is basically made in order to give shape. So you're giving a 3D shape to a flat bit of fabric. So what we do to start with is we press the dart down. So I'm just pressing that dart down, but I'm pressing it over the top of the curve. I'm only pressing that bit there. Now, when I want to press the point, I'm going to move it so that it's on a curved bit there. So I've got it onto the curve, and then I can press it again. So I just press that dart down, and then if I turn it over, I can now press from the right side, and again I've got it going down the curve. So what we want to do is we want a nice shape there, and I've got the same here. I've got a waist dart as well. So again, I'm going to press that waist dart. And then when I get to that curve, I want to make sure it's going over one of the curves on the ham. So I'm just pressing that. So the steam is coming out thick and fast now. So when I take the ham out of the way, what you have then, I'm not sure how easy you can see that, so you've got that nice shape, which means it will fit round the curve that you've created it for. Here's the one on the other side, which hasn't been ironed. So you can see the difference. So I haven't ironed that one yet. This one is ironed, and this one has the shape. And that's what you use your ham for. And a seam roll, so that they often come hand in hand. Do we sell them together or separately? They are separately. So that's the ham at $11.99. That's really, really useful. The sleeve roll is $8.99. So the sleeve roll is really useful to do sleeves. So when you're I haven't got a sleeve as an example, but when you do a sleeve, and what you'll have is you'll obviously have your seam, and if you're not careful, you can find the seam imprints onto the other side. So what you would do with your seam is you put the seam, so you've got your sleeve like that, so you've put your ham inside your sleeve, and then when you press that seam, I'm going to do this lightly because this is wool, when you press that seam, you're not pressing the seam through to the underside. So that's why you would use a ham. So it's called a sleeve roll, but you can obviously do trousers. You can do flat long seams as well. You don't have to just use it for sleeves. So it could be for trousers, but it just means that that seam doesn't get pressed through to the other side as well. And again, it's got a curve, so you can use that curve as you need it. So really useful tools, particularly if you're sort of going from very simple dressmaking to maybe being a little bit more going into fitted garments where you are going to have darts and you are going to have shaping and you are going to have princess seams, which are the curved seams down here. Using these tools makes it much, much easier. So that's the sleeve roll. So we've also got some really fabulous books. We've got a choice of fabulous books actually, so I'm just going to put those to one side. We're going to start with A Complete Guide to Dressmaking by Jules Fallon. Let's put that out of the way because it's a bit of a mucky board now. I so want one of those when they're in stock. So yes, this is A Complete Guide to Dressmaking, all the essential skills and techniques. So it's really beautiful, lovely but well presented. And it's showing you how, so really clear. So I mean, they've shown sort of the stitching in a completely different colour, not the way you would, but how you chose for photography so you can actually see what they've done. So this is all about working with stretch fabrics. So there's no patterns in this, this is all techniques. So it's a very good companion to have, because a lot of patterns, well, they might say, for instance, insert a zip, but they leave you to know how to do the zip. So this is kind of really handy to have. The fact that you've got details, really quite a lot here on stretch fabric, how it works, how it's different and how you sew it, really helps you. So this is a great book to have in your sewing cache, ready to be used when you need it. Top stitching, so Julie's just done some top stitching, so a little bit on top stitching here, sort of how to do it, top stitching needles, top stitching threads, and this is what you can use, a twin needle for instance, and you can get this lovely double row. It shows you how to do all of this and then tells you how to try. Frills, so it's all, this is the rouleau corner, this is the rouleau loop turner that we have got as well, which is the traditional rouleau loop turner. A rouleau loop is a really thin one, like a spaghetti strap, and they can be a pig to turn through. So having a tool like that makes the job so much easier. So lovely techniques, really beautifully illustrated, so it's very, very clear on how to do it all. Jules does run a lot of workshops and weekends away and things. She's very well known for her technical expertise. So really beautiful. So yes, it's like having her sitting on your shoulder, teaching you how to sew. So things like this, look at this. Look, I'm sure John has these on his sleeves. A beautiful cuff. And how to create that beautiful cuff with the placket. So all of these lovely things are different types of sleeves, set-in sleeves. They can be something that people worry about, but look, nice detailed instructions on exactly how to do it. So it is a lovely book. It is really packed and it's very, very clear. Concealed zip, my absolute favourite, concealed zip. Fly zip, so people often worry about that. It says here is how to put in a fly zip, step by step, really clear and easy. Hooks and eyes, etc. Absolutely everything. So it's going to really, really help you. And it's one of those that you might find, well, I'm never going to do a jetted pocket, but you will do one day, you know. And actually, the jetted pocket is also how you put a zipped pocket into a bag. So you can learn that technique for bag making too. Welt pockets. Made my first welt pocket on a pair of velvet trousers. Wasn't a good idea. Velvet's not easy to do a welt pocket with. And here's the patch pockets. This is the inseam pocket that Julie has done on that dress, and it shows here how to do that. But of course it does in the Tilly in the buttons book too. But all of this is just one of these books that if you're not sure or you want to maybe add a little something different to a project, this is going to give you the confidence to do so, because you've got all of the techniques clearly illustrated to help you. Now we've got less than 10 of these ones left, and we don't know when we're going to restock it. So if you're interested in this one, it says really is a complete guide to dressmaking, as it says on what it says on the tin. So it's complete guide to dressmaking, which it absolutely is. It's really good and beautifully illustrated. We're going to do the loop. Yes, because I mentioned the loop turner. So let's have a quick look at the loop turner. So this is your traditional loop turner, and this loop turner. Can I open this carefully? I'll try and open this really carefully. What it has on it is it's a very thin wire, not wire, what do you call that? It's hard, it's not wire. Anyway, a very thin rod, and it has a little hook on the end. Can we see the little hook? Can you see that little hook? So what you do is, having created your tube, you put this hook up through the tube. So you've got sewed your tube right sides together. You put it up. Now I find it's easy if you make a little snip in the fold of fabric at the top, and then you put your hook through and it closes up, and then you sort of pull on it, and because you've hooked that hook on the end of the fabric, you pull on it and it pulls it through, and you can turn through lovely spaghetti straps with that little hook. So it's really handy to have. So again, it's one of those things you might think, well, I'm not sure when I'm ever going to do those straps, but actually you might find you do them. I made camisole recently, and that's what I used it for. But also if you were doing button loops on something, you could use this as well. So it's really lovely, useful to have in your thing. It's just £2.99. It's a nice little gadget to have. Add a gadget or two. So let's look at some fabrics. We'll start with the calico, but we've got some fabrics which are great for the dress that we saw earlier as well. So this is just a ½ metre of calico, £2.49 for the ½ metre, and it is just a piece of calico. Now, calico is good. Often you'll hear of toiles, T-O-I-L-E, a toile, which is a test garment. And if you're making something that you've not made before, or something that's a little bit complicated, you want to make a toile, test garment, and you can use calico to do that because it's relatively inexpensive. Also, of course, calico is brilliant for linings, to make bags, to make tote bags. It's very, very similar to Osnaburg in that way. This, you can get calico in different weights. This is a nice sturdy weight. This is stable fabric. I'm trying to think of my words here. It's a stable fabric, so it's a nice weight. It can be dyed, it can be block printed, it could be tie-dyed, it could be dip-dyed, and you can actually, I mean, you can, if you make up a toile in this and it fits, yeah, just tie-dye it, dip-dye it, block print it, and you've got another garment ready-made. So very useful to have in your stash, and as I say, you can also use it for linings, for pockets, for bags. So actually make a tote bag out of it, and you can customise them. So this is your chance to buy it by the ½ metre, £2.49 for ½ metre. If you want more and you buy 2, 3 or 4 units, it will come as a big piece. So it's cut off the bolt especially for you. So that is our first little bargain buy. Then we have some patterned fabrics. We have 2 lots here. Shall we start with these ones? I love this one. So look at this blue. Now we were going to show this in the last hour, but we didn't have time. This is a beautiful blue cotton. It looks like the water reflecting off the swimming pool, doesn't it? And this would make that dress that Julie has just demonstrated beautifully. This is £5.99 for a ½ metre. So for that dress you would need 3 metres. So you would need 6 of these. So 6 times 6 is £36. So for £36 you can make a bespoke, unique dress with this. That is lovely. But of course, if you're, if you don't think, if you're not thinking of dressmaking, but I mean, a shirt, a top, you could make a lovely little top. You could make shorts. You could make PJ bottoms. There's lots you can make out of a really lovely cotton fabric. So that's one. We also have this one. This is a Michael Miller fabric. So this would be different, and because it's an all-over pattern, you haven't got to worry about direction. You haven't got to think, oh, I've got to pattern match. You haven't got to do that because it's all over. There's not a right or a wrong way up. It's just a lovely cotton, and it's in this sort of soft grey colour with all of these sort of geometric shapes all over. It's called Greenhouse Gardens. That's from the range. That's the range it's from, Greenhouse Gardens. Pyjamas, yes, you could do pyjamas. Now, if you were making that dress from Tilly and the Buttons, the one we had just now, for more office wear, look at this. You could make it in the black. Not that you have to wear black in the office, of course. But again, you see what I like about this is you could make it in the black, $6.99 for half a metre. So you'd need 6 of those to make that dress, but if you could make the belt in white or in black or in red, add some real spark, but be nice and demure for the office, nice and business-like, and then add a splash of colour. Now these are the more structured cottons that we were talking about. So these are great for beginners because they're structured, they'd hold their shape well. And then we have one more, which is sort of bubbles, look like champagne bubbles. These are called bumbleberries. This is from Lewis and Irene, this one. So again, it would make that dress beautifully. So it looks very cool for summer. Lovely stable cotton. So again, this is by the half metre, $6.99. Now, we also have some poplin weights. And we did have 1 or 2 of these before, and I'll show you it very briefly. So this one is really, really lovely, but you can't have it. So this is Pink and Yellow Roses. This is the one that after the show today, I'm going to buy. I can see a full skirted dress in this. It's $3.99 for half a metre. So I would, for a full dress, I would go either 3 or 3.5 metres. I'm just going to check on the width, but I think the width is 45, isn't it? I'll just double check. So I would probably go for 3. At 3, was it $2.99 a metre? I'd go for the extra half metre, to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah, so this is 22.5, 40, 42, 45 inches. So in metric, that is 114. So, yeah, personally, I would go for. I tend to buy 3 or 3.5 metres of fabric when I don't know what I'm going to make with it. Sometimes it means I have quite a big piece left, but I can use that for linings, for bags, to make a mask, obviously. So there's always something you can do with that extra fabric. So this is beautiful. It's a cotton poplin, so it's soft, it's lightweight, it will float easily, it will gather, it will pleat, it will look absolutely beautiful. But please do not buy it all, because I can't buy it till the end of the show. And then I will. So that's really lovely. But we have others. So that's my colourway, but that might not be yours. You might prefer to go for a look at this beautiful blue. Now this is lovely. Again, cotton poplin. So it just feels cool. It has this lovely fill. It's beautiful detail on this. This is a lovely subtle pattern. This would look gorgeous as a shirt. It would look gorgeous as a little cami top, as a dress. I would go for sort of the full skirted purely because it is lightweight and you don't therefore necessarily want to shift, but you could make a shift in it. There's no reason why not. Possibly you would line it. If I were lining this, I'd probably line it with a cotton lawn rather than a polyester nylon. So it's a beautiful one. So it's a blue, but it's got like a very creamy colour on it. So it's not really vibrant. It's just bright and summery. Or we have the same one, but in reverse. So that is the blue background with the creamy on the top, and this time we have the creamy background with the blue flower. So again, doesn't that look fresh and summery? That would make such a lovely top, lovely tunic top. But of course, and we're talking dressmaking this hour, but it might, you know, don't have to. Don't be put off if you're not into making that. You could use this for other crafts as well. This would be beautiful. It's an all-over pattern. It is directional. So you could actually use it for other craft projects, for bags, for mats, for quilting. It's lovely. It is directional, so you would, if you are buying this for clothes, definitely go for the 3.5 on a dress, because you do need everything to be laid out in the same direction, because it is directional, which would be 7 units at £4.99. So really still an incredibly good price. This is another one that's absolutely gorgeous. So again, if you're more into blues, look at this with these lovely flowers. So again, that lovely crisp cotton poplin. £4.99 for 1/2 metre. So again, there's lots you can do with this. Even if you just buy 1/2 metre and you think, I'm going to keep that in my bag, for a bag lining, add some contrast pockets or details like collars, cuffs, plackets. So just even that 1/2 metre piece could be very useful. And then finally, in our fabrics for this hour, we have this one. Again, a beautiful colour, very sort of summery colour. This is quite a fashionable colour, isn't it? Just trying to work out, is there a right way and up way? I always like to turn it round. This is nice, because I think sort of yellowy mustard colour is in this year, so this is a lovely colour. Let's just open it up. It's nice, isn't it? I do like that. It is sort of. I think it has a right way. I'm just trying to work it. So I spend hours doing this at home when I'm choosing a fabric. Which way up does it go? I have got it completely wrong in the past. I cut out, fortunately, as I say, I always buy 3 metres, and I'd bought this fabric, cut out a dress, and it was only a shift dress, and I'd only used half the fabric. And I suddenly realised as I was looking at these pieces that maybe the flowers on them were upside down. So I went upstairs to my son Jake and I said, should they be this way up or this way up? And he said, that way, the other way to what I'd done. So I had to recut it. Thankfully, I had the spare. And then I used the wrongly cut pieces out to make other things, to make bags and things. So I didn't waste. But yes, this is a really beautiful one. Really ready for summer and certainly right for this year. And then let's look at another one of these books. Now this one is completely different. So this is Chanello. So again, Chanello is one of the great British Sewing Bee contestants from a few years ago. And her particular thing was, in fact, she struggled with the pattern challenges because actually she tended to do drape. So she would make beautiful creations just by draping on a dress form. And we do have dress forms. And that's how she would do a lot of her beautiful dresses. And she did very well. And she created some amazing things. And here in the book, so again, very clearly illustrated, we've got all of the ways of making things, all of the different armholes, dress front. So a lot of this is actually reusing, repurposing, because it's all about sustainability. It's how to transform your wardrobe with sustainable style. So a lot of the time, you're not necessarily starting from scratch, starting from cutting out a pattern. So again, we've got techniques at the front. But when you go through, so other measurements that you need to take, and she does it all by sort of measurements and things. So if you look here, it's taking the measurements. But what she's looking at is you take all of these horizontal measurements, so your back, across the front, the bust, over bust, under bust, waist, hip. So you're taking lots of measurements. Then you take vertical. So you really are tailoring it to yourself. So here she's showing you how to do them. And then how to make sleeve blocks. So you've got the measurements you need and then how to do it. So this isn't about cutting out an existing pattern. This is about being much more creative and creating your own. So you possibly need to have some experience with this one. It's not necessary for an absolute beginner, unless you're a very creative type. But you might want to have a little bit of experience because you are creating yourself. But as well as this, as I say, you go into it a bit further, and it is a lot of things like this is button back shirt dress. So this is actually creating something. We had that on Great British Sewing Bee just recently, where they had shirts and they had to create something else, and some of them sort of turned them round. So you've got some lovely ideas. So you take all the measurements and you make it to fit. So showing you how to do it, how to draw it out. And this is how she works. Show-stopping maxi, it certainly is. So it's lovely. I think it's different. It's more for design. If you want to design your own garments, you certainly will never look the same as anybody else. So with all of these instructions as well, so very clear how to do this whole thing, how to go through the whole process. But definitely one, maybe if you've got some experience in dressmaking and you just feel that you've got some design ideas, you've done a few hacks, you know how to do a few alterations, but let's do something a bit different. So it shows you how to do, sort of like you're preparing a shirt, cutting bits off. And so it's really nice, lovely book, beautifully illustrated, very clear. So that's another lovely one. She will use I don't know which dress form she uses, but I use a dress form, and we have a dress form right here. I'm going to strip my lady. You haven't pinned it on, have you? No, right. See if I can strip her off quickly. So this is the adjuster form. Sorry, I'm going to strip her off, look. This is the Super Deluxe. Now, the lovely thing about this, not only have you got a pin cushion at the front, that's a small thing, okay, that's a really small thing, but it's so useful. You've got a pin cushion at the front here. You can open the neckline up if you have a wider neck than is on here. You can also open up bust, waist and hip. And basically, you have these little dials on here. Down is out. I always think of that, it's down and out. And then you have them on the sides, and you have them on the back. So you've got 4 points all the way around each of these. You can also lower and raise the waist. So you can see here, there's a sort of indent. So you can actually, that's up inside it. You can push it up. So you check your back waist length, and then you can lower or raise this. I have to lower it. So you can make that there. And then the other thing with these is what I suggest you do, I mean, I actually teach a sort of 2-day class on making your own body double, but for quick reference, check the shoulder point to your bust point, which is the fullest part of your bust. If our little madam here has not got the same bust point as you have, put a bra on it. And equally, if you've got a fuller bust, if you put one of your own bras on it and you adjust the bra so that the bust point on the dress form is where it is on you, and I always like to start with putting the height to my height as well, so then I can see that the bust is in the right place for me. And if it isn't, I can put a bra on it. I pad the bra out to make my shape, because what I don't want to do is make it too big on the back. So I measure my back from side to side, adjust it here, do the sides, do the front. So do it in halves, and then you can create yourself. That's a very quick way of saying you can create your body double. They are so invaluable. When you have one of these, you can do pattern tissue fitting. So you cut out your pattern pieces, pin the shoulders and sides together, and then you often only do half, because if it's cut on the fold, you'll only have a half piece. That's fine. Make sure the fold or the centre front is down the centre front, the side is on the side, the centre back's on the back. Check it. You don't have to try and do it on yourself and wiggle around as you're trying to fit something. And the same with when you're actually fitting a garment. Put it on there. When you're making a garment, in between sewing, put it on your dress form so that it's hanging. I said about hanging a garment for 24 hours before hemming. Put it on your dress form so it can hang. You get to see it. Now, the other good thing about this, which you can't see here, is it does come with a skirt marker. So what you have is a rod sticking out from the pole that holds the dress form up, and you can raise that up and down, and then you can go down round that. So you could put it on the table if you don't want to get on your knees, or I get on my knees. If you see the picture here, you'll see the skirt marker in place there, and you can mark your hem allowance all the way round for you. You don't have to enlist the help of a friend. You can do it. So you can decide on what height, and then you can mark your hem allowance. So it's a really useful tool to have, and we have them in 3 sizes. They're $159.99. Don't forget your post and package of $3.95 covers all of this. Now, even though this does come directly from the manufacturer, you don't have to pay any additional post and packing. So the sizes we have, now this is when, don't think of yourself as small, medium and large or whatever. Look at the measurements and go by the measurements. So the measurements we have, the sizes we have are, I'll see if I can read these. So we have the small, the medium and the fuller figure, the large, I hate to say large, fuller figure, mature figure. So on the small, you look at the bust sizes. So the bust is 33 to 41. So there's quite a big scope in there for the small. And it goes to hips of 34 to 42. It's a lovely hourglass figure going on there, isn't there? Medium, we have a 39 to 47 inch bust, 29 to 37 inch waist, and 40 to 48 inch hip. So taking a look at those, you choose the one that will fit your size, covering all of those. You can also pad it out. So if you find, for instance, if you go, so we go for the small because you've got a small bust, but actually your waist is 33, 34 inches, so it doesn't go up to that. Just put a layer of wadding around. So always go for the smaller. Don't think you've got to. You want it to be able to expand to your size, but it can't be smaller than you. Because if it's smaller than you, you can't make it smaller. So we do have other adjuster forms, but they're out of stock at the moment. But this one is brilliant. This is the one that you can use, and you can make skirts and dresses and things. It's kind of like the original. It's got all of the adjustment points all the way down, including the back waist length, which is really useful to be able to adjust. So go for the size that suits you. And then completely ignore whether it says it's medium and large, because for you, it's always small. Let's do some needles. Now we did have an early bird of needles the other day, which flew out. They're brilliant. So what we've got here is we've actually got 3 packs of specialist needles. The first one we're going to start with is ballpoint needles. So these ballpoint, I love the way these hemline needles are now colour coded. So not only do you have the black on the front here to show you that's a ballpoint, but the actual needle itself, the shaft of the needle, is also black. So once you've got it out and you're using it, and you can't remember which one it was, you can just look at that and you know which one it is. Now this pack here, so this ballpoint is for your stretch fabrics. So it's jerseys, jersey knits, t-shirting, that sort of thing. This is what you'll use a ballpoint one for. And the lovely little box that they come in, which you can open up easily and get them out of, you can put them back in easily and clip shut again. So it's not damaged at all. So that keeps them all nice. Then we have a jeans needle. Now that, I didn't say that one, that was size 70 to 90. So that is a good size range from lightweight to sturdy canvasy fabrics. The jeans needles start at 90, so they start at the sort of heavier weight fabric and go up to 100. You've got 3 of each in there, 6 needles in the pack, $2.49 for 6 needles. These are blue. Now these ones you'll use for canvases, for soft furnishings, for heavy duty fabrics, anything where you've got lots of bulk and lots of thickness. Don't worry about it saying jeans, it's basic for more heavy duty fabrics. And then we have leather. The leather needles are very specialist in that you use them for leather or suede. So you're using them for fabric that is not woven. And they pierce the fabric. And again, they're colour coded, so you've got brown on the packet and you've got brown on the shaft, so that you can know what it is when you've taken it out of the pack. These come in 90 to 100 as well, 3 of each. You've got 6 in the packet, £2.49. It's always worth having a collection of needles in your stash, because you need to use a new needle for each project, And if you use the right needle for the job, you'll find you'll avoid getting skipped stitches, snagged fabrics, and all sorts of other messes. The needle is often the cause of bad stitching, so it's worth having new ones. Now we have a second dressmaking book for beginners, which is this one here. This is by Wendy Ward. So this is another lady that I know very well as a dressmaking expert. And she has got some nice, simple designs again. And this is 19.99. And it's a dressmaking guide. Make your own clothes and full-size patterns compiled especially for beginners. And it includes fully graded patterns, which I love to see. So here we are, look. Oh, the George Fallon book sold out if you've missed out. So but this one is really good as well. So you've got some patterns in this one. So the George Fallon one was just technique. This one includes patterns. So you've got the pattern sheet there, but again, these patterns you'll want to trace off. So you will need pattern tissue paper as well. So it's got lovely information, sort of add side seam pockets. We were talking about that. You need your side seam pockets. So it's got lovely tips on it, on ruffles. So nice and clear, and this is nice and simple to use. Lots of the techniques we've talked about before, bias binding, understitching, very simple, putting in a centered zip, creating pleats, very clear instructions on how to do all of this. So these are all the techniques from dance, blind hemming, all the different hems, seams, sewing machine basics, choosing which size to make. So again, what she's done with her sizing, and I love this, she's sized things 1 to 5. So you can't look at that and think, oh, I'm a size. So you do need to take your measurements, and that's always good advice. Take your measurements, make that size. Don't worry about what size number it says. So it gives you your sizes that you need. Tells you how to, I'm going from back to front, of course, which I'm going backwards here. So it's teaching you how to do all of these things and then make it your own. So all of the instructions on how to put things together. Cutting plans, so that's your layouts. So really lovely, useful book to have, lots of ideas, keeping it simple, but instructions from right from the beginning, going through, telling you how to put garments together. So these are all the projects. These are lovely. I love this zip jacket. This is really lovely. But they're written so easily, they are good for beginners. So a beautiful book from a very good, well-known expert in dressmaking. It says this is the dressmaking for absolute beginners. And if you see some of those things that you could make, I think that's lovely. Because the last thing you want to do as a beginner is just make, just sort of straight things or gathered skirts. You want to still look stylish. So if you've been inspired by the Great British Sewing Bee, but you haven't done it before, then have a go. Books like this will help you, will take you through. You've got a pattern with instructions, and then you have your book. And don't just get calico. Get one of these beautiful prints. These are gorgeous, and because you use a print fabric, as Julie was saying earlier, a print fabric can hide a multitude of sins as well. So it's good to work with print fabrics as a beginner, and you can get something really lovely, very quickly, very simply. So that's a really lovely book. Scissors, now these are so important. Oh, did we not? I thought we had the serrated ones. Have we not got the serrated ones anymore? We'll just do these ones then for now, but do look on the website. These are really good. Now they're called side bent scissors because they have a curve on here, and the idea of, oh, well, these are the serrated ones, no? The curve on this, because they've got this side bend here, when you cut out with them, let me see if I can take them out of the packet. You can cut out, no, they're not the same. So the blade lays flat. So the blade is flat on the tabletop, which makes cutting out easier, because sometimes if they haven't got that side bend, you can find you're cutting out more of an angle. So you're cutting flat on the surface, so very good. Now these are Janome. So they have these lovely moulded handles. These are right-handed, and they're soft on they call it soft. It's not, you know, rubbery soft, but it's softer on the hand, so you can do prolonged cutting easily. And what you must do with your dressmaking scissors is keep them for dressmaking only and for fabric only. Do not let your friend cut the bacon, Mel. You're not allowed to cut the bacon with them. Keep them away from your children, because they are for dressmaking only, and then you can keep them sharp. We do sell scissor sharpeners on the website, so if you want to keep them crisp and sharp, you can do that. We also have, and these, and I'm not going to be able to get these ones out because they're locked in, but these are serrated. Now, when I say serrated, I'm not talking pinking shears. I'm talking about a very fine sort of micro serration. You can barely see it. I don't think the camera will pick it up at all, particularly through the plastic here. But these are really, really handy to have for cutting out silky, slippery fabrics. So they're really useful to have as well. And you can use these for all fabrics. So if you wanted to just get one pair, not two, you can get this pair here. But this one hasn't got the side bend, so it doesn't sort of go flat on the thing, but it does have the micro serration. You can't put these ones through your sharpener, because it's got this, you want to keep the serrations. You don't want to be rubbing those off when you put it through the serration. So these are really useful. These are the ones that these are my much loved ones that I have, and I like them for all fabrics, but they're particularly good for slippery fabrics. Anything that can slip away from you when you're trying to cut it. So we've now got some zips, and these zips are good to have in your stash, because if you do suddenly decide I'm going to make a dress one weekend, it's nice to have some zips. Now we've just got you some neutral coloured ones here. The first one, 22 inch, that's a standard length for a dress. This first one is an invisible zip. And you can see it's an invisible zip, or concealed, same thing. All you can see on the front of the zip, Paul's coming in to see closer, is a little teardrop zip pull. But you can't see the teeth. There's no teeth there. Now, an invisible zip is the best zip to insert, it really is. And these books we've been looking at will show you how. But if you open it up, you see, the teeth are on the underside. And you insert this, if you've got an invisible zip foot, which you won't necessarily have on your machine, it's usually an additional option, do get an invisible zip foot. We do have them on the website. That'll be for Janome stroke Elna, will it? Yes, and you do need them for your machine, because sometimes you can use them on different machines, but generally speaking, even if they look the same, they can be a tad out and you don't want to break your needle. But an invisible zip foot will have two deep channels on the underside and just a little hole for the needle to go through. And the idea of it is you have to stow the zip in open, but the teeth run through one of these channels on the underside of the zip. So the stitching goes right underneath. It's no visible stitching on the outside of the garment at all. So it's all completely concealed. So once you've got your invisible zip foot and your invisible zip, it makes sewing zips in a breeze. It really does. And if you can still see the zip tape when we've stitched it down once, you just tweak the needle across, one little click, and do it again. You haven't got to unpick the stitching. It's really beautiful. Now, we do have two other zips. So this is an invisible zip and it's in black. If you're still not confident, don't have an invisible zip foot, you could have a regular zip. So again, this is a 20-inch one, so it's a good standard length for a dress. But don't forget, you can always cut it shorter. If you wanted to have a shorter one and you've only got a long one, all you need to do is stitch repeatedly over the teeth, sort of like bar tack stitching. You can bar tack stitch by hand. You just stitch over the teeth here, and then you can cut it to the length you want. And the thing with the nylon zip is, because it's nylon, you can actually machine over it. I go over by hand. I turn the wheel by hand to go over the actual teeth when you need to go over the teeth. But so really nice standard zip, good to have in your stash. You can shorten it if you need it, but it is a good dress length. This is a nice standard one. And then we have grey. So this again is a regular zip. You can tell it because the teeth are on the right side and the zip pull is your traditional zip pull. Again, it's a 20-inch So it's just a bulk standard zip. It's a nylon zip, so it's lightweight. So it's just quite good to have in your stash. I have a whole load of zips, and I usually go for longer because I know I can shorten them if I need, but they're useful to have. Then we have a glue pen. Now, this is something that I use to help insert zips or ribbons or trims, or sometimes with seams which are a bit slippery. What you can do is you can just use this glue pen. Did we have one open? We used to have one open. And it basically has it's a pen with a glue on it, and it's brightly coloured, but it dries clear, and it is water soluble, so it'll wash out afterwards. But you can temporarily hold things in place using this glue stick. And because it's pen shaped, it's nice and easy to get a nice straight line. So if you're adding a ribbon or a trim to something and you want to make sure it's straight, there's nothing worse than having stitched it down, finding it's a little bit off at an angle. You can lay it in place with this glue strip, and you just lay your ribbons and trims down in a nice straight line, and then you stitch. In the same way with a zip, it's a quick way of inserting a zip without having to hand baste it or hand tack it in position. You can just temporarily hold it in position with the fabric glue pen. So a very useful bit of kit to have in your stash. So this is £6.99. And does this come? It comes with, right, so you've got a spare, that's what I thought. So you've got one of the glue sticks inside it. So that's the glue stick. And then you've got a spare, and you can buy more spares, and we do sell them on the website. So it's very useful to have, very handy. Speaking of pens and this is marking this time. So this is really useful. So it's a very useful little set. So a lot of dressmakers like to use chalk. I like a variation of marking tools. So I have friction pens, I have chalk, I have a chalk wheel, and I have one of these. So this is a pen, and you've got all of these different colour chalk cartridges. I'm just trying to think what to call those. You've got white, got a lot of white, but you've also got colour. So if you're working on a really light fabric, you might want to use a colour. And you can mark quite small marks. Now you have actually also got a little sharpener in here, so that if your little tips become a bit blunt, just like a pencil or a crayon, you can sharpen them. So it's really handy. This is actually at an early bird price of £19.99. It shouldn't be at an early bird price, but it is. So you're saving £4. So this is, grab one of these whilst you can before they realise it's an early bird price and they're going to put it back up again. So it's very handy. It's another method of marking. Friction pens are one way, chalk pen is another, and sometimes you want a combination of the both depending on what you're working on. So that is very handy to have. Now we have one more book, and we do have a few other bits and pieces in the house, so please do look on the web. We've got our little break in a minute to transfer to the next show. Do take the time to have a quick look on the website and see some of the other things that we've got. For instance, the steamer that's to my side. Saw that, tried that, bought it. It's really lovely, vertical steamer. Anyway, this book. So this is another book. So this is Everyday Style. So again, we're sort of aiming it more at beginners and sort of intermediate. You've got the patterns in the back here, nicely in a little envelope, all nicely quizzed. So this is a Swedish designer, although she lives in America. And what she has here is lots of clothes, 5 simple sewing patterns and a collection of DIY accessories. So if we look, so I try starting at the front rather than the back as usual. So again, we're starting with how to choose fabrics and what the fabrics are. So there's lots of things, and she's showing here, this is her working in her room. And then lots of things. Oh, it's almost a little travel guide as well. This is lovely. Making fabric braces. So she's gone on travel, she's found some new tips, and then she's showing how to make them. So this is like a nice little jacket. And then you can make it longer. So fabric necklaces. So it's some fun accessories as well as some garments. So you've got your 5 patterns for garments. So this is a completely different looking book. And it's definitely got a sort of Scandi feel to it. Look at these pom-poms. Remember making pom-poms like this on the card? They look so cute. You've got warmers. This is really lovely too. Look at this exercise things. Who says yoga wear has to be lycra? Absolutely agree. Not everybody wants to wear lycra, thank you. You like a bit of lycra, do you, Paul? But also, look, she's got a logo outfit and then she's got a bag to put the yoga mat in. Or you can use it for your shopping. Sounds like a good idea to me. And then we've got dress. Oh, we've done demos with this book before. 26th of Jan and 28th of March, if you wanted to look back. We've been waiting for it to come in stock since then because people keep asking, because it is a really fun book. And I like the way, look at this, she's cutting out on the floor. That's what we all have to do. I like that. We haven't all got huge, big sewing rooms. So some simple designs, and she's just showing how fabulous they can look and how you can add, like this, add this bobble trim to a simple triangular scarf. Simple ideas, and then how to do them. And then here she is in Mexico, so we're now looking at Mexican type things. Simple dress. So the same dress but without belt. So I do like the fact you can do that both ways. Then into some. So she's done it in a sort of a year. The kind of clothes you can wear different parts of the year. And it's all about easy living, easy clothes. But it's all about the fabric then. It's the fabric that makes a garment. If you've got a simple line like this, it's a very simple style. And then you use a nice bold fabric and that makes this thing. Look at this dress. Gorgeous. And look how she's got this really bold fabric. I've got a beautiful fabric would make that dress lovely. And then some bags. Again, bags are always useful, and of course we all know that pyjamas are. So it's really lovely book. Packed full of information, again, like all of the other ones we've bought today, as well as the sewing patterns inside the envelope there. And it's finally back in stock, which has got to be the good news, isn't it? So do grab it whilst you can. Now we do have to go for a break. We've run over just a tad. We're going to have Sashiko with Julie Kelly again, and she's going to show us some very mindful, slow stitching, which is Sashiko. See you in just a few minutes.
Are you a fan of Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? Why not join our growing Facebook fans pages? Just search Sewing Street Fans and Yarn Lane TV Fans on Facebook and click Join Group. It's that simple. Never miss out on the latest news and updates from our presenters and guest designers, special offers and plenty of chat with your fellow fans. Share photos of your makes, ask for advice, interact with your favourite guests and presenters and be a part of the ever-growing sewing and yarn community. See you there!
Hello everyone, my name's Cara Ackerman and I'm absolutely delighted to be here at Sewing Street. I actually originated from Hertfordshire, then went down to Hampshire and then it ended up in the East Midlands. I've been in the East Midlands for about 40 years now, which seems crazy, but 36 of those I actually worked with DMC Creative World, which was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed that. And then I decided to go freelance and that's how I got introduced to Sewing Street. I love doing anything to do with textiles, so embroidery, cross stitch, patchwork, done a bit of quilting, bag making, toy making, oh goodness, there's loads and loads of things. What I love doing is just trying something new, and I think one of the tips is don't be frightened of trying something new. You always learn from it, and you know, don't be scared of making mistakes either. We all learn from the mistakes that we make. Little bit about me that you might not know and that's a bit of a surprise. I once went to the garden party down at Buckingham Palace, the Queen's garden party, for some work that I did with Marie Curie. I was so lucky to go there and just a wonderful time. So I hope to see more of you on Sewing Street and I hope to try lots of new crafts with you. So see you again soon. Bye bye.
In need of a crafting fix? There are so many ways you can watch Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. Sewing Street is live from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day on Freeview 72 and Sky 670. Alternatively, if you want to watch us on a tablet or on the move, you can tune in on our YouTube channel, the Sewing Street app, or the websites at www.sewingstreet.com and www.yarnlane.com. You can watch past shows on Sky 670 from 1 p.m. every day, as well as our YouTube channel, the app, and our website. Yarn Lane is on from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our programme guide to find out when and what's on. So you never have to spend a minute without us.
If you'd like to get in touch with us during our live show and send in any messages or any questions, then you can do it on studio@sewingstreet.com. Alternatively, you can message us on our official Facebook page.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out. Welcome back. Now I'm joined again by Julie Kelly. Now she is going to give us a slow, calm Sashiko demo. So Sashiko is a kind of stitching. It's got a Japanese background, and Julie knows a lot more about it than me. And basically what it is, traditionally it is white on blue. That we have kits which are the reverse of that. So we've got white fabrics. We've also got kits with the blues to have as borders. And we've got some of the Sashiko thread and needles. So let's start with our kits. So let's start with the kit that you have got made up there first. This is Mount Fuji, isn't it? So if I turn it over this way, so this is the kit. What you get in the kit here is you get your white fabric, which is all pre-printed with the design that you stitch on. Now this, don't iron it, because when you iron it, that design disappears. So don't iron it when you get it out of the packet, even if it's got folds in it. And it's also got the threads that you need to create the design. And that's the design, and the size of it is, what size is it? You're going to do me a quick measure. So it does actually come on a sort of piece of fabric which is twice that size. Now some people say that you should fold it and then stitch through both, and other people don't. I think Susan Bresco, who is the queen of Sashiko stitching, and I have two of her books here as well. They're in the next hour, so I'll bring those. But she only stitches on a single layer. So this is sort of like personal choice, but you've got in that pack enough to do it on both. You've also got a fat quarter. What was the measurements of the panel?
So the panel within the sort of frame is 30 centimetres, so 12-inch square. So like
12-inch square,
so,
lovely.
Yeah.
So you can do quite a lot. Once you've done your stitching, you can create it into a little wall hanging, or you could make it into a bag front or a cushion front. And we have put in a fat quarter of this. This is Rose and Hubble quality, so this is a navy, which you can make your borders out of. You also get a needle in the pack, as this is a Sashiko needle and some Sashiko thread. So this is everything you need to get going and have a go at this really traditional slow stitching design. So that's the Mount Fuji design. It does include English instructions too, because it didn't before in the past, but it does now include English instructions. We also have two others. We have this one. This is the Great Wave of Kanagawa. Did you know without looking, Paul? Very impressed. It's a very famous painting, this is, or a series. So again, now if you were thinking wall hangings, these make quite a nice trio, I think. So we've got another kit as well. So again, you have the pre-printed fabric with the design printed out on it. You have the threads that you need, the Sashiko threads, and also the needle, and this fat quarter to do your borders with. And there was enough there to do the borders and the backing, wasn't there? So there's plenty to do borders and backing. And again, it's a sort of 30-inch square. So you've got a 12-inch square, 30 centimetre square. So what you have there is a lovely, another cushion front, another bag, or if you're going to have a trio of wall pictures, you've got that there. And then a final one as a bundle is this one here. So again, we have the fabric to go with it. And this time, this is Hamlet Fields in the Sagami province. So again, it's just a very light design. So you have the threads, you have the cotton fabric which has been printed, and apparently you said that this is the same fabric they make underwear out of.
Yeah, it's a very lightweight cotton.
It's very lightweight cotton, isn't it?
It's quite see-through.
Quite see-through. Maybe they make chemises out of it, maybe.
Yeah,
Or sort of French knickers type thing.
Quite a loose weave.
Quite a loose weave, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get the yarn that you need, or the embroidery threads you need. This is Sashiko threads, as well as the needle with the big eye. So it's got a nice big eye in it. So that's what you get in the kit at $14.99. And then we do have panels on their own. Let's start with the navy. So we've got 4 different ones. And again, we've got very similar designs here. So if we start with, let's start with this one, which is the one I've just looked at, isn't it? So this is the Hamlet Fields in Sagami province. But this time, the design is on the traditional blue. So the design is on the traditional blue, and you've got white lines. Again, they iron off once you've stitched. So don't iron the piece of fabric when you get it out of the bag. You don't get threads, you don't get needles, but we do have threads, of course we have threads. So you can just buy this on its own for $5.99. You can also buy, this is Mount Fuji again, is it? Oh no, this is Hanafuking. Don't know. Oh, that's what they're all called, sorry. I'm just trying to decide what I think it is.
Fine breezy day.
Fine breezy day, this one.
Yeah, but it is Mount.
Yes. So the finished size is 33 by 33 centimetres, and again it's printed on the blue. So you decide what colour thread. Now you can be traditional, go white or cream, or you can have a little bit of a personal touch to it and add colour, and we'll look at some coloured threads in a minute. We also have the Great Wave. So again, the same design, 33 by 33 centimetres, finished size. This is the Great Wave of Kamigawa. And it's printed on the pan. You can't see much of the printing on here, but if I unfolded it and took it out, you would. It's got all the printing, all the stitch. So you can see the design that you're going to stitch. And you choose what colours you use. So that's up to you. And finally in the navy, we have, again, Mount Fuji. This is from a different angle, and I think this is one that's probably, this says it's Mount Fuji reflected in Lake Kawagachi in the Kei province. So that's very nice, a nice design. So you've got English instructions again, and you've got all the lines. You just literally follow the lines. It's stitch by number almost. And you choose the yarns that you're using. Now we have the whole lot again, but with white backgrounds. So this is the same design, but with white backgrounds. So if we do it in the same order, I think. So this is the first one. This is the Hamlet Fields. So the Hamlet Fields here. So again, all you're getting in this is the pack with the instructions, $5.99, and with the printed panel, which will iron off, so don't iron. Then we have this one, which is Mount Fuji. So it's a simple Mount Fuji one here. And again, you can follow I don't know how easy you can see that, but there's a stitch guide all on there. You just follow that stitch guide. I say just, there are some tips and techniques you're going to learn from Julie about how to. And then we have the Great Wave. So this is the great wave again. So just the fabric with the stitch outline for you to stitch around, £5.99 with English instructions. And then we have the final one, which is Mount Fuji reflected in Lake Kawachi in the Kai province. So they all have sort of their traditional prints, traditional meanings, and again the print on the back on the actual fabric. Now we do have 3 bundles of Sashiko thread for you. So let's start with the brights. So Sashiko thread is sort of specially for this kind of stitch. It is a single thread as opposed to embroidery where it had 6 strands. You've just got 1 strand, but it's a thicker one. These are fantastic. I mean, obviously they're made for Sashiko, but you can also use these for other embroidery, other hand embroidery. You can also use them for couching on the sewing machine, so you can couch them down, lay them on the top and then zigzag across, or you could hand wide them onto a bobbin and you could do it for bobbin work. So they've actually got a lot of uses beyond just Sashiko. What you get is 10 20-metre skeins, and in this pack we have bright colours, but we have, of those bright colours, 4 are variegated. So we've got 4 variegated, and then we have 6 plains. So they're really beautiful threads. So this is taking your Sashiko design into it with a modern twist, having colour. The next bundle we have is the more muted colours. So this is called Antique. And again, these would look lovely on a white background. So what we have here is, again, we have this whole selection, 20 metres on each, 10 altogether, and 4 of them are variegated. So they're really nice selection, different variegated threads if you're thinking about both packs, £14.99 for all 10. And then final bundle is this one. These are pastels. Now this time just 2 are variegated. Oh no, they're not. No, I lie, 3. And then you've got some really nice basic colours. So if you want to be traditional, you've got cream, you've got grey. Then if you want to add colour to your work, you've got the colours. But as I say, they're actually really lovely threads for all sorts of other things as well. So really beautiful threads here. So it's another pack, 10 skeins of 20 metres each. The final thing that you will need are needles. Now these are Sashiko needles, so they've got a nice big eye. These ones by Clover have got a golden eye. And you've got the different sizes in the pack. A set of 4 types. So the longer ones you can pack on the stitches, and the smaller ones for smaller work, got a smaller eye. So the eyes sort of go bigger and smaller depending on which size you're using. And that is what you're going to need, and of course scissors. And we do have, if you wanted to have a quick look on the website, we do have these lovely Fiskars little classic needlework scissors with nice sharp points, really useful to have. But it's a lovely project to do on the move, to go and sit in the garden when we can get back outside again because the weather's so awful, and on the train. You don't need a sewing machine. It is slow stitching, mindful stitching, which is a really big thing nowadays. And once you've mastered this and you've done these, you can actually do things like repairs. It's a really good way of doing repairs or to customise or embellish. So on that note, hi Julie, how did you get into Sashiko?
Well, funnily you should say that, Wendy. I hate buying jeans. It's a real
it's hard to get them to fit.
A challenge to find fit. So the jeans I love all managed to go in the inner leg seam at the sort of crotch end. And then you start Googling, going, how do I repair? And this was probably a couple of years ago. And I do like all things Japanese, as you can possibly tell. So I sort of came upon it for its original purpose, which was repairing and layering fabric, and how it was done originally. So I don't know if you could see, and these, I didn't even know there was such thing as Sashiko threads. So I did actually use just normal embroidery threads, which is probably they're probably going to, I don't think they're quite as strong.
No,
I
probably
think.
not.
No.
No.
So my lovely hand stitching might disintegrate. But actually, I don't know if you can, so on my, so I did buy Susan's book actually when I sort of discovered that it was a thing. So I've done a bit of a sort of cross with some different colours, and I decided to go circular with, so you can't really see it when they're on, which is, a bit of sort of a shame, but because they're sort of
Can sit down with your legs like a man. Sit with your legs open.
But that was my first go, and it is quite, and that was through denim, and I can't remember what needle I used actually, but you definitely, you needed your bigger eye to get your threads through. But so I've sort of, that's how I started with Sashiko sort of traditionally, really, with the mending. So this is the first kit that I've actually come across. So. That I've used. So it is really relaxing, and I think using it on the travel and having it with you, I think is great. And it's actually, water gets rid of the pattern.
Not iron. Sorry, water.
Unless you do a steam iron, obviously.
Okay.
But yes.
Sorry.
So the instructions.
Sorry about that.
I say they are. I think historically they weren't ever in English, but there is definitely an English. Instructions now. So you just got to be careful. Don't get your hands wet when you just don't be too sweaty or. So on the panel, I did actually. I was saying, because I've added the border to try and that stitch around the outside, I debated whether I was actually going to do it or not, because trying to get your border lined up with that, and it's a bit loose, and it could move a little bit when you're adding your border pattern fabric. So I actually did that freehand and then actually dabbed off. I actually used a cotton bud dipped in water. I mean, it says about dunking it in a bowl, and I was slightly nervous about that with the blue and the white, and so I actually just used a cotton bud, and it does disappear. So you just have to watch. Don't have hot sweaty hands, because you might lose your image. And there's a good Facebook group if you're struggling and asking questions, and I did actually put a few questions up there, because I say you get this panel, and having never used one before, it was like, oh, that's interesting. Why is it this double sort of length? And there was great debate when I asked about this on the Facebook group about whether you sewed through both layers, which it does actually describe. So it tells you to sort of sew down one side, turn it through, and then you are actually stitching through two layers. Whereas some people, I think Susan herself, just uses the one layer, and then you've got a piece of fabric that you can actually have a go at doing your own Sashiko if you want to do your pattern, because it is this sort of, it's quite a gauzy, loose weave, so you don't want anything too stiff to get the needle through. So I did that one through both layers actually, the wall hanging panel there. This one I'm just started doing through the one. So it's all nice and laid out, and you get you get plenty of threads. So again, the debate was whether you doubled it up, because I think historically Sashiko thread was used double, but for this you don't. It's just single, otherwise you're going to run out of your lovely colours. But and I had leftovers, so which was a bit, I don't know if it was alarming or that I missed something.
No, I think you often do with embroidery threads. They go a very long way, don't they?
Yeah. So as long as it's keeping it is, I used to cross stitch, so it brought me back to, I used to cross stitch was my sort of hand stitching. So I haven't done really any hand stitching for a long time, apart from my repairs. So, but it is something you need good light. It's not the strongest of the image, the print on the pattern, so do it in good natural light, I would suggest. So I've just started, as you can see, and it literally is a running stitch, but you're threading you want the fabric onto the needle, so you're not doing each stitch, because that would take you sort of longer, but it depends, it is just a running stitch. So I think there's probably a bigger idea of what it is, but it is simply a running stitch.
But it's making sure your stitches are nice and even, isn't it?
Yes. And for this, I think if you can't really see, because you've covered the print in a stitch, whether you need to do the water to get rid of, I sort of looked in some areas and you might just see a little bit, but actually if you're keeping to the pattern, you probably don't see any of the pattern anyway, to sort of do the dunking in the water, which was a little bit, a little bit alarming.
Put a colour catcher in, you'll be fine.
So I don't know how much they're zooming in, and I'm trying not to shake. So I've started off just so I wasn't trying to thread the needle on air as well. So you're just following And I think it was described as like a grain of rice. That's how that.
Oh,
I think
okay.
there's
That's how
images,
long the stitch
yeah, I
should
think
be.
that was images that, and it's like a stabbing. Yeah. So I think originally the stitch historically was it sort of looked like grains of rice, and I think that's with the dark fabric and the white on top. So that's the image. It's sort of trying to. So it is a sort of not very long stitch, and then I won't try and.
So do you start with a knot, or I know a lot of embroidery doesn't?
Again, in the instructions it says knot and do some back stitching and things, but I think that does thicken the stitch, so I use a knot.
You know, coming up from the back,
yeah,
with
just
a knot.
Yeah. So you don't want it. So say I think because it's all quite delicate. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm just gathering. Can you see that on there? Gathering on the needle, and then you're pulling through. So it's quite a chunky needle. So,
and how many stitches are you sort of doing at a time?
I sort of did 3. It varies, sometimes it feels a bit thicker than others to get through. And it's quite a nice length of thread. It doesn't tend to knot, it doesn't tend to sort of knot up. So, I say you just want to take your time. And sometimes the stitches might be, you can just just undo it and do it again if you've just gone a bit too short. I say it's quite hard to do.
Have you got a bit, I see you're saying doing that, it's quite hard to see. Have you got a bit with a darker thread colour?
Yes.
Good.
Do you want me to show? Yeah?
Yeah, I think that might be easier to see.
Okay, just finish that stitch.
And I don't want to challenge you into threading a needle. Although Susan's got a tip on how to thread the needle. I don't know if it's on the instructions as well, but you loop it around the eye and pull it to sort of make it crisp. And then you put the fold through the eye of the needle.
I say it's quite a generous.
Now my friend always tells me, so Jenny Raymond's advice is always that you don't wet the end of the thread.
Because?
What you do, because it swells the thread, so what you should actually do is wet the end of the needle eye. And the easiest way, don't put it in your mouth, the easiest way is to sort of finger and obviously wet it like that. If you're working for somebody else, then put it in a sponge rather than your own saliva.
Right, so again, I've done sort of 3. You could probably put more on the needle, but the idea is you do this sort of gathering up, I suppose, rather than just each stitch. You don't want to do each stitch. So
it is like a running stitch, isn't it?
It literally is a running stitch. I don't know if you can see that.
And you're actually following the lines on the pattern.
Yeah, so you cover the, So it is, and I say it felt like colour by numbers. I think you said that, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so for stitches. So it's, so, and don't pull it too tight. So the wall hanging, there was wadding behind and another layer that I sort of basted it all together before I started stitching. And say you just have to play around with, that was doubled up, this is single.
So which do you think? Was it easier to do it with the wadding behind or...
I think I was only catching. I think I was going just through the 2 layers of the white fabric. Yeah, because it was too. You couldn't get the needle back up in the space. Yeah, to do another stitch. So there was too much. So I think I think through the 2 layers is fine. Yeah. But not try and get it all the way
through the wadding and everything as well.
I did start that, and that was quite hard work.
It's useful tips though, because if you're beginning this. Rather than having to find all these things out yourself, it's quite nice when somebody's found it out for you.
And I think because it is quite delicate, I sort of get the idea of the 2 layers now, having just worked on 1. So it depends how how much you want to push through. I say I've got a bit of a bendy thumb, so I don't like too much sort of force through there. So I say it's up to you. You can do it as it says in the instructions and fold it in half, sew down one side, turn it through, and then you are stitching through the 2 layers. Yeah. So, but with a single piece of thread. So,
it really is delicate stitching, isn't it?
But you get quite it is definitely, mindfulness. I think it's great that you could take it on holiday and just, if you miss your sewing machine, you could still do a nice creative.
You have a craving.
Yeah.
But it does mean you can relax and sew in the garden or something like that, and you don't have to feel guilty because you are being productive. I like that idea.
I think it looks nice I think it would be nice as a cushion, definitely. I think if you've got, definitely is the different choices of kits. you could do, you know, you've got 3 or 4 cushions that you've got a nice.
I think it would be lovely, a lovely combination to have all of those. I think that's really nice, you know, to have the set, to be honest with you, because they all go nicely together.
And so with the
and because in the kits you've already got the thread, if you go for the kits, or if you go for the little patterns on their own, I'm just having a look at what it looks like inside, and it's exactly the same as the one you're working on, but blue. If you go for the ones on your own, you can then buy 1 or 2 of the sets of threads, and you can have, you know, these 4 different designs, or 3 of the designs, and you'll still have plenty of thread, because that thread, 20 metres on each of the colours, is plenty.
So I've gone a bit. So you just have to, if you feel like that was a bit gappy, you can just undo it and just stick with the. You get a bit carried away and go, oh, I've gone ahead of the pattern a little bit, or yeah. So it is quite a delicate, but it's a sort of stab and up. So if you're used to hand embroidery, and then you just follow you gather onto your needle is the idea, and then you. But I'm sure I read somewhere it was like when you can see it on the dark fabric and the white looks like a little grain of rice. So yeah, but and then you just need to I think it does tell you how many pieces, how many strands in each, because some of the colours. So I think there was like dark blue, grey. That was definitely like you had to work out what was what, and it is all marked out on. There's a larger diagram. So I don't know if you can see that. Oh, maybe there. So it does tell you dark blue. There's a dark blue, blue, mustard, and the Fuji one.
So is the diagram in colour?
There's yes, but just.
Yeah, so it's
but
very
there is
light, very
but there is a
delicate.
description as well. So it does tell you. And I think for the Fuji one, I got carried away and did an extra line of one of them. It's like, oh, I should have stopped. So I did actually put a pin in just where I had to go up to. So it's like, right, because the colours they're quite similar on this one. So because they sort of merge.
Yes.
So yeah, they fade, I should say. So, but this is a little bit more obvious on the wave. There's I say you've got dark blue, you've got a blue and a light blue. Yeah, so I don't know if you can. So
yes, they're quite distinct colours.
They're
aren't
quite
they,
distinct.
on that
They
one?
were sort of, you had to sort of go, oh right, which is which. But it does tell you how many threads, so you can sort of work it out if you're not quite sure. It does say there's 6 pieces, 2 pieces, and I say quite detailed instructions about beginning stitching, end stitching, changing the thread, I say, and then how to, I say, wash it.
And does it tell you how long a thread length to use each time? Does it recommend that?
No, but I think historically you're always trying to go so you're not using up too much on the back, so that you're not wasting it. The idea is that you are travelling sort of left to right, so you sort of trying. But some of it will be. I didn't show the back of. I should have shown the back of it, but you're trying to so you don't waste thread.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're not sort of doing some big jumps across that you're getting your needle in. So I think the idea is that. So I did sort of doing that line, then I'll carry on. So it's sort of.
So how? I mean, if you know when you want to prevent knotting threads, if you're doing embroidery or hand stitching, you can run it through wax. Would you say you could do that with this?
I think, Susan does a clever sort of trick of sort of flicking it to get if there's any sort of, I think if there is any twist in it, but I honestly didn't knot at all.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that Kat was saying hers did
right.
when she tried hers.
Yeah. So I make sure I don't have
Wasn't one of these packs.
I try and make sure I don't have a massive long piece when I'm So
that's what I wondered. How long a length do you start?
Yeah.
with?
So I keep the actual bit that I'm. So you've not got a massive, because they are quite long pieces.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to sort of, but just take your time. I think it's meant to be rushed.
Yeah.
And sometimes if it does twist, I usually sort of hang my needle up and it'll do a bit of a
untwist
bit
itself.
of a spin.
Yes.
But yeah. So say you just, and then if you're not happy with it, you can sort of take, you just undo a bit if there's any sort of, I haven't quite followed. But I say if you wet the fabric afterwards, which I've done, I just used a cotton bud, actually dipped in water, and that seemed to, and it did dissolve. Yeah, it just sort of vanished. So quite clever. So I'll just do a little bit more on this.
So Elizabeth has said, morning lovelies, I cut a panel up and I see one when I'm watching TV. Oh, I sew one when I'm watching TV. I use multicolours, not strictly correct I suppose, but it's so rewarding and restful, I love it. We'll stitch them all back together eventually as a runner. That's a good idea.
Nice. Yeah. I say people do placemats. I think I'd love to put it on the back of a jacket. I think something, you know, because it's so much work you put into it. I can't imagine, I don't particularly want to put a plate on something that, you know, I don't know, but I think a runner would be, a runner down the middle of the table.
Yeah, but don't touch.
yeah. And a coaster is like, I think
So the runner will be for when your table's not being used?
Yes.
It'll just dress the table?
Yeah.
Because when you come to eat a meal, you roll it up and put it to one side.
There's so much work gone into it. But I think, I'd love to incorporate it into the back of a jacket, I think.
Imagine a denim jacket.
Yeah.
With that on the back, that would be really stunning.
Yeah. So I say you just say it's just something to just switch off. I say you're probably better off in natural light. It's a relatively palish grey line that you're sort of following. I say that I'm not following as well as I should be, but I say, and then you can just dampen it down and you get rid of that line. So they should all be nice and even, but no one's going to, you're not getting marked for it. So as long as you're happy with it, it's just, they're slightly uneven, but
Okay, so if you need now to change colour,
yep.
Do you ever have to do that mid row, or is it always at the end?
No, I would say, so with this wave, if we're looking at this pattern, so the blue, so I'm going to get to this line here, and then I'm going to jump over using the same thread underneath. So that would be my only thoughts on the single or the double fabric.
You might see it underneath.
You might see it. So that would be my only thought, if that's why they tell you to double up the fabric that you're sewing through. So that's, as you can see, my hand's under there, and that's a lot thicker. Yeah,
Can you bring it a little bit more to your right?
My
I know, I have to work out.
Left.
Keep a little bit further the way you were going. That's it, lovely.
Yeah.
Then we can see your hand under it as well.
So that's with it doubled, and it is, say, if I'm opening it out, I can see it. You probably might not be able to see it on so say, or you finish and just do a little knot again, or say they talk about doing a back stitch into it, and I suppose it is a single layer. So but for that I just carried on and didn't really have to stop and start.
Right.
And, I just used it till the end of the thread, and
Okay. And you mentioned that there are Facebook groups that you can join. There's a whole community of Sashiko stitchers.
Definitely, with people putting their lovely work on, and you can see all sorts of different variety of people's and then ask and questions. If you've got questions about what thread I should be using, what fabrics, and there's people posting their wall hangings and their
Well, like Elizabeth says, join them together and make a table runner.
Yeah.
That's a lovely idea. There is a lot, and the fact that even there's mindful mending, which is what it was originally for. Look at this picture here. This is from Suja, and she said, "Hello everyone, borrow use Sashiko thread." So borrow again is another sort of Japanese, it's a style of mending, and the idea is that you use a lot of older fabrics and you patch, and then you just join them together with the Sashiko stitching. It's a lovely technique, it really is. That was beautiful, Seijo.
So, and I have got some paper. There's paper that you can make your own patterns. So, which like a chalk paper but that takes a lot more precision and working out and calculations. But there is, in Susan's book, I think it explains how you can make your own images and patterns. And I quite like, there's some emblems. They're a bit like our coat of arms, but in Japanese they're like family crests. So I did start to do make my own sort of image to do on a piece of fabric. It's like, because there's lots of beautiful with cherry blossoms, and so you could get really, if you like sort of the Japanese sort of imagery, then make your own, and so I think once you get the technique, but that's a whole nother layer of learning, I think, of how to transfer the images you want onto the fabric.
But isn't that lovely though? So you can start for your journey on this with easy to follow kits. And then once you've done that, there are ways, because although it is just running stitch, there are ways to expand that and create your own designs. And like you were saying, actually it's like doing it on the back of a jacket. You don't even necessarily have to do it on a panel. You could actually go straight onto the jacket if you can transfer or create your own design, which is all something you can learn to do. It's like anything, you can always learn new methods, can't you? We know it's very popular. And mindfulness in sewing is very big now. I mean, it's, to be honest, we've always had it. It's always been a relaxing, mindful thing to do, sewing, knitting, crochet, crafting in general. But now it's the buzzword, so we can do mindful sewing.
So I've just gone across that gap there, and I was just wondering whether you could see it. And I think once you get, say, backing fabric on things, maybe you won't. But say that's the risk with that darker. I think with the darker colour that you could possibly see that through. So again, if you doubled up your material, and you've got quite a large reference picture there to just go, oh right, but you just get engrossed in it, and it didn't actually take. I mean, these were obviously that took the longest, that more detail. But I think I started on the. I presume that's the sea and the sky, and then the rest of it happened quite quickly. So, and then it came together, and you go, oh yeah. And I think the border row that does sort of frame it as well.
I think so. I think it is nice to sort of finish off, isn't it?
But I was slightly dubious about the wetting it, but it did. Yeah, it was more because the blue. Yeah, it was like.
So how long do you think it took you to do the stitching on your panel?
I mean, I didn't do it in one go because it actually did make my thumb sore, but only because I've got a very hypermobile thumb from my physio treatment days of So I probably did it a couple of hours, I suppose.
Oh really? That quick?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say longer.
Yeah.
You can do it in an evening, Kat, can you? Oh, right, you can't.
I like to do it in daylight.
Yes, or you can have a daylight lamp, of course.
True, yeah, because I haven't got very brilliant sort of lighting in our sort of lounge and things, and so I tend to sit by a window and just chill with the cats and just apart from they wanted to try and climb on top of it, join in. So it's like no, especially with wet feet, it's like no. But I think it'd be a nice present for someone to introduce them to it. I think it's
definitely
it's very clear instructions. You've got all the threads, the needles there. You don't need to get anything else in the kit, And I had leftover of the fat quarter. So if you wanted to create that border, and just sewing on, the technique I used was like sewing on half a bit, and then you gradually overlapped and created that. Yeah, so I literally.
So did you do the top and bottom first, or did you go?
I just went round. Just did sewed and then put another one on, and then gradually. Yeah, so I think it does need that sort of frame.
Oh, I think it's nice with the frame, and the blue, of course, gives it that traditional look, doesn't it?
So it's perfect size. I did have a cushion, in theory, to go in, but so good for a cushion cover.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So.
Thank you. You're going to keep on stitching there.
I'll keep stitching. Yes.
We'll have a quick review of what we have got here to offer. You're working on the wave, aren't you?
I am on the wave. Yeah.
Oh no, that's not the wave. That's the kit. The wave in the kit. So this is the wave. So you get your panel is printed. All the little stitches. You get the yarn you need, and you get the needle. So it's $14.99, and you get a fat quarter, so you can then add the borders and indeed a backing. Now we normally sell the pack on its own for $14.99, so actually you're getting the fat quarter for free, just so that you can finish this off beautifully. And you can actually make it into a cushion cover, or as Julie's done, you can make it into a wall hanging. So it's up to you entirely. Or, as Elizabeth has done, you can join them together and make it into a table runner. So that's a really nice idea. The other bundles we have, so we have this one, which is the Hamlet Fields in the Sagami province. So again, you've got Mount Fuji there. And it's got, are these cranes in the foreground? Yes, so you've got cranes in the foreground. So these are very sort of traditional Japanese symbols. And then over the back, just to see, you've got your threads again, and the needle, and of course the printed fabric, which washes out, not irons. And the instructions have got English instructions as well. So you can follow that nice and neatly. And our final kit is the one that Julie did originally, that she's made the small wall hanging out of. This is Mount Fuji. Fine breezy day, it says. You could continue stitching into the border actually, yes, because you say you had some of the thread left, didn't you?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to sort of stitch on into the border,
you could actually do some
that.
sort of design, or even on these emblems that I talked about.
Yes.
I can't think of the proper name, but you could add even like a cherry blossom or some other onto because the blue is, say, the traditional,
yes,
I think, with the white
so
thread.
that's up to you, because it's your kit, isn't it, to do what you like with. So don't forget, you also get the fat quarter for free, so it's $14.99, and that is the Mount Fuji Fine Breezy Day. I like that. Now, if you need any extra Sashiko needles, we have those as well. So you get a pack of 8 here. It's a pack of 8, and they've got nice golden eyes. So you've got the big, 4 different sizes. So you've got the big eyes, and then they go down to the smaller size with the smaller eyes. So they're quite useful to have. Sashiko needles, and we also have these lovely thread bundles. So let's start with the Brights again. Bright's the most popular. Oh, we've only got 10 of these left. So if you're looking at these, so these are $14.99 for this bundle. So it's $1.49 a skein, which is a really good price, especially for the variegated ones. So you have 4 variegated ones in this pack here, and then 6 plains. And this is the Brights, really beautiful. And as I say, use these for all sorts of embroidery work as well. So you can use them for your Sashiko, but you can also use them for standard embroidery. You can use them with your sewing machine. They're really, really beautiful. I love couching on a sewing machine, using a couching foot. Lay these on the top and then just zigzag with a similar colour or even invisible thread over it. So they just look like they're laid there. Gives a lovely finish. So we are limited on these. So if you are interested in these, stop when there's 1 pack left. Then we have this one. This is more the antique colours. So again, we have 4 variegated and 6 plains. So again, a lovely set. Actually work well with the other ones. And they would look lovely against the navy. If you want to go traditional, you can of course use the cream. But they do look absolutely lovely. And give some really beautiful decorative stitching. And I love the fact you've got all of this here, 20 metres on each of the skeins, 10 skeins in the pack, which works out at $1.49 per pack, which is amazing. And you can use there are plenty left. You can use them for you can use them for your mending, to make your mending more, not just mending a patch. You're going to add to it, customise, embellish. Yes, indeed. And then we have the pastels. This time we have 3 of the variegated and 7 plains. So 3 of those and 7 plains. So these are really lovely colours as well. Again, you've got the cream, you've got the green, the blue, the grey and the darker blue. So some really lovely colours, sort of nice traditional colours, and then the variegated threads for something a little bit different. So 3 really nice packs, all $14.99. The thread is brilliant. It's lovely thread to work with. And you said you haven't found it knotted at all, so that's really nice.
It's just that length, you know. So and the kits, it's a So, but yeah, it definitely haven't found it knotted.
That's really nice. Now we do have some of the panels on their own. Now they don't come with thread or with needles. These are just the panels, the pre-printed panels. So we have this is a traditional sort of blue, which traditionally is done with white or cream. So you've got the design. This one is called, yes, Fuji Reflected in Lake Kiwiya. I can't even read that. I could read it earlier, now my eyes are going. Yes, please, if anybody can speak Japanese or is Japanese. Kawaguchi in the Kai province, or thereabouts. 33 centimetre square panel, and that's what you get. So you need to buy your threads, or if you've got your threads at home already. We also have the Great Wave. This is very famous. This is the most popular of the day. That's interesting. £5.99. If you've never given Sashiko a go before and you fancy having a go at a new craft, new mindful slow stitching craft, it's not, you know, you wouldn't get a lunch for this. So 2 coffees. You don't need the caffeine. And again, printed, you can't really see that, but the design is printed onto the blue fabric. And this is the traditional one. So this traditionally would be with white or cream thread. We also have this is the Mount Fuji again. This is the design actually that Julie has already done there, but she's done it on the white. So this is the same design, but it's on the traditional blue. So if you want to buy your own threads or you've already got some threads, this is a really good one. £5.99. So you can add all of that. Variegated blue would look nice on the sea. It would. Is there variegated? Well, I've got one in this. Oh, I've got. Okay, I'm not mixing them up. I promise I won't mix them up. So I've got the variegated blue in this one, which is our sort of more pastel-y neutrals. So that's got sort of blue and white. That's really nice. Or you've got the blue. You've got the two. You've sort of got different blues you could play with there. Or in the brights bundle, I've got a variegated blue here. So that's a different variegated blue. So that's another nice one. So you know, that would be lovely. Keeping them well separated. And then the final design on the blue is this one. So again, it's Mount Fuji, but this is the Hamlet Fields in the Sagami province. So this is the one that has got the birds in the foreground, the cranes in the foreground. So that's really lovely. And so you could put some colour in there, make it look really zingy. So that's lovely. And then we have the same set, but in white. So if you prefer the white rather than the traditional, this one is in the fields again. This is the Mount Fuji reflected in Lake Kawaguchi. Apologies there, that pronunciation is completely off. So again, you get the panel. So what you're getting is the panel, which has been pre-printed, and the instructions on how to make it, which are included in here. You buy your own thread, and you've got all those lovely threads, and you buy your own needles. But remember, those threads will do more than one panel. If you buy in any one of those sets of threads, they'll do more than one panel. So they're a really good deal to buy those. And as I say, you can actually use them for all sorts of other things as well. Then we have the Great Wave, which Julie is stitching at the moment. That's the one you're stitching, isn't it?
Yeah.
English instructions. So this is the Great Wave. So this is the one. So which one is selling best, Kat? Is it the blue or the white? The navy's this one. Okay. Because it's traditional, yes. But I mean, you could even have, if you're going to do your own and you're going to do a 3 or a 4 or whatever, you could have a white, a blue, a white, or two, you know, the other way round. You could mix them up. They're really lovely. So that's your Great Wave. We also have the Mount Fuji on its own. This is the one we were talking about, having the variegated threads for the sea and the sky. It is something you could do with children if they have good dexterity, because it is quite precise stitching, isn't it?
But their little hands, they might actually find
it a bit easier.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest with you, if they don't follow the lines perfectly, the lines wash out. It doesn't matter. Does it?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it might be actually a nice. Yeah.
Might be nice to have variation on it. So yes, definitely something that children. And then our last one here again is the one with the cranes. So this is the Hamlet Fields in Sagami province. So that's one with the cranes in it. So you can add some lovely colour in that, make it really look super. And I was just going to say, don't forget you do need some nice little scissors. So you just happen to have these on here. These little Fiskars, nice little sharp scissors. Oh, okay, let's look at the message on Facebook. Christine has said, I find sewing and knitting very therapeutic. It's wonderful just sitting and relaxing with something to do. It helps me a lot with my mindful state. I'm actually sitting knitting a baby cardigan for a family friend and thinking of my late mam, who would have been 93 today. She loved to knit. See, that is so lovely. That's lovely, Christine. And then a message from Roxanne, different glasses coming on. Oh, can you put it back on the other screen? Oh, no, you can't, can you? So it's good morning all. My little Sashiko bag done with a variegated thread. Oh, this is your, oh, look at that. Look at that bag. I didn't realise that you'd actually made that. That is gorgeous. I've been teaching myself the Japanese style of stitching called, is that unshin, traditionally used for sewing Sashiko and boro. So satisfying and quite different to the Western way of stitching Sashiko, which thinks of it as slow sewing. So unshin does need a palm thimble. I've not heard of one of those, but it's great fun and can be fast if you want to be. Well, fast when done by an expert, but I'm hardly that yet. Thanks for the lovely kits today, says Rosanna. That's that bag is absolutely amazing.
That pattern, whatever the net, I love that pattern. Yeah, it's very traditional.
It is very traditional. It looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it?
So I think, and it's quite nice. You don't need an embroidery hoop, or you don't need other bits. So you actually don't put it in an embroidery hoop. So so it's literally you can just take that. You wouldn't need a very big bag to just travel with that and do it on the train, or So, but
absolutely,
I think because cross stitch, I remember it being quite twee and sort of cottagey, and I mean there are some lovely Japanese imagery and things, but I think this lends that lends itself to these Japanese images, and
it really does. But I think I do like it. I like the whole idea of it being slow, mindful, relaxing, and something to do when you're watching the TV rather than playing on your iPad. Talking about myself here. So yes, absolutely. So thank you ever so much, Julie. Do you know when you're back?
June the 4th.
June the 4th.
But I don't
May
know.
the 4th go with you.
But I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, I can't tell you
She's back
anymore.
on June the 4th, which doesn't know what. Oh, and it's with me.
Oh,
that's good.
Oh, there you go. We'll meet again.
Goodness knows what we're doing on June the 4th, but we're doing something. Well, thank you ever so much.
It's all right.
So after the break, I'm back with some more Sashiko and Japanese fabric. So not just the threads, we've also got some superb fabrics, some with metallic in them, some with the beautiful blues. And we've got Susan Briscoe's books back in stock, really beautiful Sashiko books from The Expert. See you in just a few minutes.
Missed the live show? Don't worry, we recorded it for you. Never miss out on your favourite presenters, guests and makes ever again. Head on over to our YouTube pages to watch back the day's live show and enjoy your favourite demos over and over again. We also have lots of great content exclusive to our YouTube pages, such as product demonstrations, troubleshooting videos, and so much more. Subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you never miss a show or video ever again.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out.
Hi, my name's Jules Mayouf and I'm really excited to be a guest designer on Sewing Street. Okay, I got into sewing through my grandma. I used to sit and watch her. She was a dressmaker, and I started off making toys, and then I was dressmaking myself, and from then I've done homeware and children's wear and all sorts of different things in between. I would say my top tip is to be kind to yourself. It's only fabric at the end of the day, and if things do go wrong, then you've always got your quick unpick. My claim to fame is that in 2012 I was a VIP driver with the Olympics, and I met some really interesting people who were very nice, and I'm hoping that I'll meet some very interesting and nice people on Sewing Street too.
Keep up to date with what's on Sewing Street and Yarn Lane, as well as all the latest news and special offers by signing up to our email newsletters. For Sewing Street, head on over to www.sewingstreet.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and you're done. It's exactly the same for Yarn Lane. Head on over to www.yarnlane.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, type in your email address, click the envelope, and that's it. You are now subscribed to both Sewing Street's and Yarn Lane's email newsletters, so you'll never miss out on the latest news and special offers ever again.
If you're a Sewing Street or Yarn Lane customer, no matter how many times you check out in one day, you will only pay one postage and packaging. So don't wait to add the item you want to your basket and check out. You will only pay one P&P even if you check out multiple times in one day.
Stuck for ideas for the perfect gift? Why not get them a gift card? You can buy Sewing Street and Yarn Lane gift cards loaded up with anything from £10 to £500. Shop our gift cards online at www.sewingstreet.com or www.yarnlane.com, or purchase them via our UK call centre on 0800 001 44 33.
Hi, welcome back. This is another Sashiko Hour, but this time, sadly not joined by Susan Briscoe, but I have her book. Now, she is the ultimate expert in Sashiko. She really is. In fact, she was first introduced it in the early 1990s. So we're talking 30 years ago there. So she has become, she was actually teaching English in Japan, which is when she was introduced it. And she did actually bring a whole exhibition of historic and contemporary Sashiko quilts and things over to the Festival of Quilts back in 2003. So she knows her stuff. Now this book we have here, this is the ultimate Sashiko source book. We've been waiting to get this back since the 27th of December. It is finally back in stock. It is just $11.99, but we only have a few because although it's back in stock, it's limited stock. If you're in the slightest bit interested in Sashiko stitching, this is one for you. And what I love about it, it's got 100 designs in here. And these are the designs, so, you know, go beyond doing white on blue and start stitching some other things. There's lots of different ways of stitching, lots of different patterns and how to do, and she's using different colours as well here. So, you know, she's going away from just the traditional and creating lots of different. So this is how you create your own patterns too. So this isn't a case of following a guide, you're making your own. And look at all these different things you can do. She makes it look easy. It's got tips. When turning corners, be sure to make the last stitch to the right of the corner so the pattern will look sharp. So you've got lots of tips as well as these lovely traditional designs. So if you just enjoyed the last hour with Julie, who was showing that stitching, this is taking us the next step on. This is these lovely sort of clamshell designs. These are waves. But look at that with colour popped in. Can you see the colour on that with the light shining on it? If I leave it there for you to have a quick look, you can see. Good. So this is lovely. So you've got all of these different designs in here to choose from. That's the pattern library, and look at this table runner. So she's also got some projects. Fan cushion. So fans are obviously, look at this bag with these lovely fabric beads. So how to do all of this with all these lovely designs, and they just look so stunning. Curtains. Tote bags, look at this. It is as it says on the tin. It is the ultimate. Look at that. Those cushions are amazing. So this is the ultimate source book, Sashiko shorts. Sashiko, I put my eye in, put the eye in again, Sashiko source book with patterns, projects and inspiration. So there's 100 different patterns in there. So a really lovely, lovely book at $11.99. So that's our first book. We do have a second book from Susan. This is her simple Sashiko. So if you're an absolute beginner, you might want to try this one first. I would be tempted to get two, so you're ready to move on. But this one is, yes, both for under £20. I mean, it's a lovely bargain. 8 projects for the modern home. So 8 projects. So this is lovely. So it's a David and Charles book again. So it's a well-known publisher. And you've got basic techniques and how you can start and finish, which is always useful to know, using the Sashiko thread. So this is really taking you up to the beginning. Even if you wanted to use hanging sleeves, if you wanted to make wall hangings, how to put the hanging sleeve on, how to ease. This is really taking you right from the start. And then you've got some nice projects to get you going. It's lovely traditional designs. Now we've been waiting for this one to come in stock since the 15th of January, so sometime again. These are nice, simple, small projects, greeting cards. And then cushion. Look at that sample. I love that sampler cushion. So if you know, it's one of those things, if you love it, but you think, well, you know, I've got this beautiful stitch panel, what do I do with it now? This has given you ideas of what you can do, what you can actually stick. Look at this table mat and maple leaf coaster. That is beautiful. Although, like Julie, it could be a little bit, oh, do I want to use it? This is beautiful though, isn't it? And the stitching should be fine through wash. Table mat. Shows you clearly how to do the design. And look at this, so this is using variegated thread. So we had those packs of variegated thread just now, and it just looks stunning. Very simple little design there. Looks brilliant because it's been done in a really lovely thread. Pocket hanging, so very clear. And I love these long samplers. They look lovely on the wall. Beautifully framed there. And again, this one's nice. This sort of reminds me of the sort of borrowed technique of lots of patches. But you've got lots of techniques going on there with different patches, so that's really nice. How to put it together, how to do all of the different pieces. So it's a really nice little book there. Both of them are back in stock today, but limited quantities. This is the Queen, leading expert in... I'm going to struggle over it this time. Sashiko, leading expert in Sashiko. This is Susan Briscoe. So that's really nice. Now, we do have some threads. We had some threads in the last one, so keep in mind those. But we also got these. These are just solid colour packs, but they are big packs. So these are all 100 metres. So we've got 100 metres here of the Sashiko thread. You were getting 20 metres for £1.49 a skein. So what is this one? Let's have a look. You get 100 metres for £4.99. So that's like 50p a metre, isn't it? Does it work at that? No, not even that. What does that work out, a metre? If you divide £4.99 by 100, is it 49p? No, because you could times 49p by 100, you get £49. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's good. It's a really good price. So this is 100 metres of Sashiko thread, so it's just a single yarn, 5p a metre. I knew I hadn't got my dot in the right place there. This is really going to last you. This is going to last you for ages. You can do all sorts of projects with this. So if you need to stock up on your thread, this is a really... So what we've got here is we've got some basic colours. So this is the cream. And we also have white. So they're the sort of two traditional colours. So then we've got the white one here. Again, 100 metres. This is called Antique White. It is 100% cotton, single strand, Sashiko thread. So it's got a nice weight to it. So the stitching is nice and prominent. And we have grey. So again, nice traditional colour. So these are all sort of nice bulk standard traditional colours, so really useful to have. £4.99 for 100 metres. So this will show up on white, on navy, on red. Grey is a really good colour to have. It adds, and they look nice together. You know, if you wanted to keep it really subtle, they do look lovely together. And they're nice to use against the variegated if you've gone for one of the packs with the variegated in. Then we have blue. This is a sort of lovely sky blue. It's 100% cotton, 100 metres again, £4.99 for 100 metres, which works out about 5p a metre. Just under. It's a really good price, and yes, we don't know how they negotiated that price, but thank you buyers for doing so. It means we get the benefit. And then we have this gold, this sort of antique rust gold, or what would you call this gold? It's a goldy colour. Oh, they've called it yellow ochre. So again, exactly the same, 100 metres, 100% cotton, £4.99 for the skein. When Susan was in, she said she couldn't get them for this price, and she's the leading expert. So yeah, so we're passing on the saving that our buyers have managed to get to you. So that's really lovely. Lovely colours, nice good colours to stock up, and they work with so many others. They work well with the variegated threads, they work well with the bright threads, and there's plenty there to do lots of these lovely designs that Susan has got in her books. So really lovely designs there. Now, we do have some other panels. We've got some printed fabrics, but we've also got some other panels if you like the help and support of having the pre-printed panel. So let's start with this one. It is QWY. I'm just seeing, this is Sashiko cloth. So this is cotton and linen cloth. I'm just seeing if it's got a name for the design. They've called it Star, but it is. It's beautiful. Can you see that design there? It's a really pretty design, and it's got all sorts of different shapes in it for the stitching. So you've got sort of circles and oblongs, and it looks like it's a sampler almost. You've got lots of different stitches in there. You've got fans. We've got crosses, so it's really lovely to have a go at lots of different stitches, and you could do that in some of those bright colours we had earlier. This would make this look absolutely stunning. This is a brand new panel. So all the colours, I mean, I can see this in all of those brights and the variegated. It would look absolutely amazing, I think. The finished panel size is 12 by 12 inches, 30 centimetres square. So that's that one. Oh, these are lovely. I love these. So what are these? £19.99. Very sort of intricate design. There are lots going on. And here's the natural background. So it's not white. This is more natural. So we have that one. We also have this one. This is circles within circles. So this, again, is another brand new one for today. The ink used, again, is water-soluble. So we've got the water-soluble ink again. It says, do not use a steam iron or water spray. Excuse me, I'm just going to cough. Oh, that looks good. So you can see the design really clearly if you look at the print there. That's the design you're getting on this panel. So they're all traditional Japanese prints, and but it's almost like a sampler, and all these circles intertwining. I just think, I mean, you could do it traditionally, you could just do it with the one colour, or you could add some of those beautiful coloured Sashiko threads that we had earlier on, all those lovely colours, some of the variegated ones, some of the bright ones. Or if you want to keep more traditional colours, you could have, as we were looking at just now, these packs here with the 100 metres on them. We could have those, and you could have it sort of much more pastel-y, much more calming. So really lovely. It's £19.99 for that panel. We have another panel here. So this one is hexagons. So again, it's the same sort of idea. So actually these two, they would look really nice together if you could have them. If you're talking about cushion fronts or a table runner like Elizabeth did, or if you want them for wall hangings, you could have them next to each other. I think they would look really nice. So this one is hexagons, and again, lots of different stitches. And it's up to you what colours you use, because what you're getting is the printed panel. Finished size again is 12 inches square or 30 centimetres square. And this last one is really different. This is actually like a scene. This is so traditional Japanese scene. This is water lilies. Let's have a look at what this actually looks like. So all of these will look similar to this, but I'm just going to open this one up. I'm going to do it carefully so I can close it back up again. So we just get, what you're getting is the panel. So let's look at the panel with the design printed on it. So again, you have that sort of double-sided piece. So you can, you could make this into a cushion, because actually this is it's a heavier weight than the other kits were. So this is really lovely. So you can use it double layered, or you can actually use it single layered, as Julie was doing. So you look at the pink lotus flowers, and then in here we've got some instructions, which I'm just having a quick look at. So we've got the instructions here in English, so no worries there, and give you some really nice idea on how to do it all. And definitely don't use a steam iron or a water spray until you finish stitching. So how to do the jumping stitches. This is a brand new panel today. So this is a lovely design too. It would look lovely as a wall hanging, and I think what would look lovely is having a selection of wall hangings. I think that would look really nice. So that's that one. Put that away in a minute. Oh, we have to warn you about Susan Briscoe's books. We've got left and less than 5 of the Ultimate Sashiko book. So this is the one that we've waited 5 months to get back. It's $11.99, 100 different designs. If you want to learn Sashiko, I couldn't say it's everything she knows, because I'm sure she knows masses, but this is a really good grounding, absolutely fabulous grounding, and it's got all sort of the different projects in it, which are lovely, but it's also got some hints and tips on everything about sewing and stitching and creating your own pattern. So you've got some projects in there, but it's also got how to create your own patterns. I think this is the one that Julie said she's got. I think she got this after she'd had her sort of own attempt, not knowing that's what it was. She then got this fabulous book, and it's so informative. You can find Susan online. She has social media, so you will be able to find her online. It's Susan Briscoe, and the spelling of her name is Briscoe, so Susan Briscoe. So you can have a look. She is really passionate about this. She is doing a lecture at the Festival of Quilts this year as well, which is something that's worth looking out for. So really lovely. I think she goes at least once a year to Japan. Obviously, she hasn't been able to travel this last year, but I'm sure... Oh, did she? She put out a blog post 2 days ago. susanbriscoe.blogspot.com, and you'll find some more details about her. She talks about selecting different colours and how she cuts them up and plats them. And that's in the book as well, by the way. So lots of that information is also there, which you'll be able to keep forever and a day. But I'm also surrounded by some fabulous fabrics. So where shall we start? Shall we keep extra wide backing? That's this one here, isn't it? So this is extra wide backing, and this is pie half metre, £8.99 for half a metre. Shall I? It's 280 centimetres wide. So this is fabulous. I can open it out. This is like a really traditional Sashiko design as well, isn't it? This sort of design. This is the hemp leaf design. It's a nice. It's It's strong, but it's a really nice fabric. It's quite crisp. It's quite a good weight of fabric here. So the hem leaf represents. So you had to wait to be told because I didn't know it. The hem leaf represents strength and versatility. So it's got. They all have messages, don't they? Their symbols. So the hem leaf grows. Oh, it grows a little bristly. Oh, vigorously. I see. It grows vigorously. Where you don't need to worry about it. Hey, can I have that in this country? Will it grow in England? Don't need a lot of care to grow it. Oh, they often use it on babies and children for kimonos, so that helps them grow up big and strong. So this has got lots of tradition. A lot of these patterns will have sort of traditional meanings. This is, don't forget, it's 280 centimetres wide. So for $8.99, I can't open it all out. This is only half of it, and then then I've got another half, and I haven't got long enough arms. Just because it's backing fabric, you can use it for other things. Of course you can. It's just incredibly wide, which is lovely. And it is a nice crisp cotton. So this would make a nice kimono or kimono dressing gown. It would also be lovely in a quilt or table runner. Back a table runner with that. If you're doing a Sashiko table runner, you could back it with this. Rather than just using a plain, it'd be nice. And especially when you know the meaning behind it, when you know the meaning behind the print. So that is really lovely. So that's the only backing fabric at that width that we have got for this hour. So it's really lovely. Our tiger fabric, look at this. So these fabrics have sort of all got this kind of theme, this Japanese theme. Now these are all available by the ½ metre. So this is our first one, which is the yellowy mustard one. And it has a texture to the fabric. It's sort of got a linen-y texture to it. So this is a ½ metre. Look at this. Tigers. It's really lovely, isn't it? It's so different. It's 100% cotton bark cloth. It feels like linen. It has that sort of crispness to it. You can see the texture. Yeah, so it is lovely. This would make a lovely... so I always have to come back to dressmaking, don't I? This would actually make a lovely shift dress or a jacket or a kimono jacket. It's a nice fabric. And because the lions are leaping about all over the place, you haven't got to worry about up right way or not. So I'll turn it around. Sorry, tigers. So they're all over. So you can buy it by the ½ metre, and you could certainly fussy cut some of these pieces if you wanted to use it in quilting or as a bag or something like that. Really dramatic. So what does the tiger mean? We got a... Oh, okay, I thought you were going to be my source of information, telling me all these things. You think strength. Here we have the tigers again, but this time we've got it on a sort of grey background. So it's like a still grey background. So the tigers, they govern the elemental forces of wind and rain. So they were revered as rulers of the cosmos and the natural world. And their symbolic pairing brings about their symbolic pairing brings about blessings. I like that. Oh, rain and peace. So that's the grey version. And we have it with a black background. I like this one as well. This is nice. So that's with the black background. So remember, this is ½ metre for $7.49. And it is this sort of linen-y feel weight, which is 100% cotton from bark. So you have that sort of slub in it, which is really lovely. And then we have one final colourway, which is on the navy. So again, this is a lovely one. There's tigers leaping around. They are definitely prowling, aren't they? Do you want to come up against one of them? This would look an amazing border, wouldn't it? Or a back, if you're doing the Sashiko front and then this is a back of a cushion. Or you have, you know, quite big, you'd want quite big borders if you were going to use this because you need to keep your tigers intact. Very lovely. We also have koi fish. It's one, just the one on this one. So again, it's that same cloth. And this time it's koi, which are another well-known Japanese symbol. It's got that lovely feel to it. You could make quite a nice jacket out of this, you know. So the koi fish meaning in Japan is good fortune or luck. So good fortune or luck if you wear something with this or make something out of this. So these lovely gold ones. They're symbolic in Buddhism and they represent courage. So I hope you get your like in your history lesson or you're at the same time here. So that's that one. These ones. So these have got a touch of metallic in them. So these aren't the bark cloth anymore. These are brand new in today, and we just had the two in this. We've got the one on this sort of beigey background. So you've got these sort of flying herons. And again, they're sort of going in all directions. So I don't think there's a right up and down. I'm just going to turn it round to have a look. Nope. Nope, so it's multi-directional, which is brilliant. So you've got these lovely herons over it, and it's got the sort of hints of metallic in it, in the foliage. Very bold design. So this is $6.99. Brand new in today, we have the same design in this really vibrant blue. It's beautiful. Look at that. We've only got 3.5 meters of this one available. You haven't missed out yet, but you could get it. You can phone the call centre for free to place your order, which is 0800 001 4433, and they will help you through placing an order if you've not done so before. Really helpful people to speak to. They're here and you can have a nice chat with them. They're really lovely people. Or of course you can go on the website and buy from the website or the app. There's lots of ways. We like to make sure it's easy for you to buy, but we are limited on this one. It's $6.99 for the ½ metre. If you want more than ½ metre, remember to add more units to your basket. So you'll just simply multiply the number of units you want. If you would think a lampshade out of it, yes, if you're thinking lampshades, furnishings, bags, etc., ½ metre, a metre might be plenty. If you're thinking of a kimono or some sort of really sort of flowing, easy fit dress. We had a lovely dress in the earlier book. In fact, even the one that Julie made earlier on today, something like this, a really bold design like this would look stunning. So then of course you buy multiples and it will come as one big piece. Well, we've got 2.5 meters left. So if you're thinking about something that you need a lot for, you're going to want to grab that while you can. So that's a really beautiful one. We also have little koi fish, but this time they're smaller, and we've got 4 colourways. Starting with the red. This one again, it's got the metallic gold, and it is also, it's cotton, but it's not the bark cotton. It's quite a stiff cotton. It's got a lot of body to it. And you think that's upside down. Is that better? Yes. Yes, I think you're right. So you've got the traditional Japanese prints of the Sashiko prints in the little waves or the clamshells or whatever you're calling those. It's all sort of printed in there. Lots of detail in that print. And then you've got the fish, the koi carp, just jumping around there. So it's very, very pretty with that hint of opulence with the metallic gold. Lovely little purses, little bags. These will really look beautiful. You see, again, I could see something like this in a little crop jacket for evening. Make a little crop jacket for evening. All glasses, case, accessories would be lovely. As well as that one, we have it with a black background. So this is a charcoal background, but it really does mean that the gold and the red just really pops out. You can really see that gold and the red. Makes the red ones really stand out, doesn't it? I love that colour. These are beautiful. These are made in Japan too, which is nice to know when they're Japanese designs. So that's a really lovely one. And we have it in green. This is a nice green, very nice green. It's a really lovely green here, and again it complements the gold. So you can see the gold. I think, have I got it upside down again? I have. You can see the gold detail, sort of like the stitch detail on all of these little shells or waves or whatever. And the fish jumping for joy. So that's the green, and then finally we have the same design on another red. So this is a deeper red, more of a ruby red. Let's have a look. I think they are bigger. So these are not as big as the big ones, not as small as the small ones. So these are in between these. That is the right way up, isn't it? There's a bit more detail on the body. Well, I think it's not that so much they've got more detail, but the detail is more obvious on them because they're bigger. They might be a different type, but I think it's just the detail is sort of stronger, and again, all of the little sea waves or clamshells, whichever we're calling them, the detail is more obvious because it's a bit larger. So that's lovely. That's really nice. $6.99. All sorts of Japanese, not bad. I see a kimono or a tunic top or something like that. I think that's beautiful. So that is they. We have one more set of metallic-y fabric, and these are more floral. So we've got 3 in this set. This is the red. Look at these. Again, you could make all sorts with this. Look at those beautiful designs. Really lovely, beautiful, big designs. And the detail and the outline in gold. Very, very lovely. That would make a fabulous cushion panel there. I like the mottled background, so it's not a solid background. It's really, really lovely. So you've got loads of different sort of bunches of flowers there. The blue and the gold, and then we have the hexagonals. It's lovely. It's very, very special. Nice. It's a cotton weight again. It's quite crisp, sort of medium weight there. So you can make something with structure. That would make a really fabulous centerpiece on a quilt. We have the same again, but this time it's with black background. So this is really, ooh, just throw my glasses onto the floor. Not a good idea. So again, really lovely design. Really big, strong flower design. Turn it over. I don't know if there's a right and a wrong. I'm just trying to turn it up that way. That feels better to me. But I can see you could just pick a big panel of this as a centre panel. That would be so lovely. So that's our second colourway for this lovely floral design, and don't forget it's got the gold in it, so this is really beautiful. And then we have the final one in this collection. They've called it beige, But it's not just beige really, it's more sort of golden beige, I think. So really pretty again. So you've got these same big clusters of flowers and clusters of hexagons. Really, really lovely. So really beautiful fabric, lovely colour, lovely rich florals coming out of here. So this one again is £6.99 for just half a metre. And of course you can buy more than half a metre if you're thinking about making something that requires more fabric. If you buy more, you get it in a bigger piece. So you just add the number of units that you want in, and then you'll get that many units. We're going to do the blues next. We've got 3 sets of blues. So let's start with the spots. So we've got 3 spots here. So let's start with the darker one. So this is just a very simple spot. But what's nice about it is they're almost like you've put them on wet fabric, because the spots haven't got solid outlines. They're soft. The outline of these spots is soft. Can you see the edges? There's sort of blurred edges to them. So this is on a dark blue, so this is sort of a very traditional colour, and it's quite a lightweight cotton. That's a really nice lightweight cotton. That's the blue. We then have a lighter blue. That's this one here. So this is called denim. So again, it's exactly the same, that you've got the sort of smudgy spots. I like that. It's not too defined. It's a really lovely, nice lightweight cotton. Nice feel to this fabric. And then we have, again, the same spot design, but this time it's the other way round. So this time what we've got is we've got white background with a blue spot. Now, all of these are P tie-dye. It's actually the most popular pattern on hand towels. Hand towels. I like the one on this one because it's got a lighter blue outline to the blue spot. So it's really lovely detail on this. Because it's called P tie-dye, it represents the hope of staying strong and in sound health. That's what I love. I love the fact it has meaning. It's really lovely, isn't it? This is lovely design. So it was originally handmade using tie-dye techniques. So the dots were, that's why they had that sort of irregular look to them, to keep that sort of traditional look alive. So that's really nice. We also have, let's go for this one. So this is the hemp leaf design, and again we have it in 3 different colourways. So start with the deep blue. And if you wanted, you could add some stitching to this, if you wanted to bring out some definition. So it's a really fabulous design in itself. Nice cotton, it's a sort of lightweight, crisp cotton. £6.99 for half a metre, but of course you can buy more. And this again, this would make a lovely border. If you're thinking borders and things like that, or a bag, if you wanted to make your Sashiko bag, Sashiko bag even, as we saw earlier, but you want to cheat, you can make it out of this fabric and you won't have to do the stitching, it's done for you. This is really lovely, I love this. And then we have it in this sort of denim blue, the light blue. So here it is in the light blue. So this time it's got white on the light blue. So that makes it very fresh and summery, isn't it? This is really lovely. That would be lovely in that Tilly in the Buttons dress. So you needed 3 metres, so you'd have to have 6 times the unit price of £6.99. So for the 3 metres. And then finally we have the white with the indigo, and when it's on the white I just love the fact that the blue, it just does look, you can almost feel it's tie-dyed even if it's not now. It has that look to it because you've got the lighter blue on the outsides of the design. So it's really pretty. Nice and fresh and summery, even though it's a dark blue. It looks gorgeous. So that's that design there. And we also have yet more, keeping with the blues, because the blue is such a traditional colour. We have more blues. So let's look at these ones. So starting with the dark blue again. This looks to me, looks a little bit like shibori dyeing. It has that sort of look to it. It's really lovely. This is called the Seven Treasures print. Circles overlapping in quarters represent petals, and each centre forms a shining star. So the pattern is regarded as I paused. You thought I was so fluent then, didn't you? But I'm listening to Kat. It's auspicious and for posterity and decadence. I like the sound of all that. Good relationships and for bringing harmony. So this is a very, very good pattern, isn't it? It is a bit like the wedding ring design in quilting, isn't it? For your harmony, you're going to need 10 metres. But again, you know, you can just see sort of Japanese style garments, kimono style jackets like the one that Julie was wearing. You can just see that in these. Now the denim colour of this, which is the next one, we only have 4 metres left of this one. Yeah, we think people are using this for dressmaking, but it would make beautiful quilts. Panels in quilting, because again, although it's got an all over pattern like this, you can cut fairly small pieces and it won't distract from that lovely pattern, or borders to get some of those circles in the border. So it's really beautiful. So this is the denim one, so don't forget it's half a metre, price is £6.99, but if you want to use it, or bigger piece, and you want a bigger piece, just add multiple units to your basket and you will get it in a bigger piece. And then we have again the white version. So we've got the blue print on the white. So that is again a lovely, lovely fresh summery design. And in between, it's not plain white on the background here, you've got sort of smudges of colour, smudges of the blue in between there, giving it a really soft look. So beautiful. So, we've got 2 more prints in the blues, 2 more different designs. These ones here. So this one, this is a nice one too. All of these are gorgeous, I think. This pattern gets its name because it looks like the spots on the back of a thorn. So it's created using a hand dyeing technique, and it is really labour intensive. So a kimono with this all over print would be considered a luxury item because of all of these little circles, they're not made of one colour. So you can see why it's a time consuming print. They do look hand dyed. I don't suppose they are. I'm just going to cough again. So lovely print here in this deep blue. It just cries out for a kimono or sort of loose sort of pyjama set, even a shirt. But again, if you're thinking quilting, all of these designs, all of these ones we've looked at just now, these all go together. So you could have a beautiful Japanese printed quilt design, putting those all together. But in this particular print, we also have the lighter blue. So this is sort of denim colour. So again, you sort of got these smudgy spots, and inside the spots you've got another spot. So a lot of detail in there when you look at it. Very pretty and nice weight of cotton. So these are all of our Japanese fabrics. So if you weren't with us at 8 o'clock this morning, you missed our early bird. So let me bring that back in, because we did bring in, this has been a while coming back, but we did bring in plenty because we know how popular it is. So this is actually 1.5 meters pre-cut, ready to go, of Osnabrück fabric, which is, it's like a calico, but it's a little bit more weight and it's soft. It's soft to handle. It's a lovely fabric to have. You can use it for all sorts of purposes. And because it's a cotton, you can, of course, dye it, print it, block print it, embroider on it, add trims and things. So you could make it, you could make tote bags, nice simple tote bags, and then use the transfer sheets from yesterday and transfer a fabulous image on the front, whether it be images of people or flowers or scenes. You can do that on it. You could also use it for lining, for backing, for creating. You can use it for toiles if you want to. It is £6.50 for 1.5 meters. So that's a really lovely, and it's quite a good width. We worked out it was 150 wide, didn't we, when we looked at it earlier? So 150 wide, so it's nice and wide. That's 60 inches. Really nice. And it's the fabric, it's sort of an off-white, it's sort of a creamy white, but it has this little black fleck in it. So it looks very natural. It's a very natural looking fabric, and it is soft to the handle. So this is our early bird offer, special price. You're saving £1 if you buy it on this early bird price. It's usually £2.50 for ½ meter. So that's already a good price actually, which is why the saving isn't huge, but it's a saving. We never turn a saving away, but it is usually a very, very good price. People often buy this by the metre, or 2 meters or 3 meters when we get it in stock, because it's a really useful thing to have in your stash. It is the early bird while stocks last. So we don't have a huge amount of these units left now, because it was very popular earlier on today. Just wanted to remind you of it, and it is available until at the early bird price until midnight tonight, or until stocks last, depending on what happens. So that is our lovely piece of Osnabrück fabric, Osnabrück fabric even. So it doesn't matter whether you're using it for quilting or lining bags, making toiles, outdoor makes, making totes. So you could use Eau-de-Coat on it, which is the water resistance coating that you could put on it, so you could make things for outside. You could create shopping bags, aprons. You could make a lovely chef's apron for barbecue, and you could use fabric paints and things, or appliques. So it's really a blank canvas, so you can do all sorts of different things on it. People do doll making with it as well, which is a really good idea, because that would make a lovely soft doll. So really lovely things there. Very popular early bird, so really pleased that we were able to bring it back to you today. And shall we just recap the books quickly? Oh, right, so we haven't got enough in stock to do that, so we've got a few. If you haven't grabbed it yet, have a quick look, but we do have a few of these ones left. So this is the simple even, put my teeth back in, simple I'm really struggling now. Simple Sashiko, 8 Sashiko sewing projects for the modern home. So you've got 8 projects in here, and it's by Susan Briscoe, who is the leading person on Sashiko. She learnt it back in the 1990s when she was teaching in Japan. And she learnt the techniques, and she's brought them back, and she's brought over to England the whole sort of displays and exhibition of it. So she's immersed herself in it, and she knows all about Sashiko and the stitching, and she is sharing that with us in her books. So this has got introduction, and what I like about this is it's all about for beginners to get started. So if it's something you fancy having a go at, this is a lovely book to get you started. It's telling you everything, the basics, how to start, how to finish, the different stitches that you've got, how to stitch them, and then you go into some lovely projects to make you realise what else you can do with it, because obviously whenever you're learning a new technique, it's a bit like whether it's cross stitch or embroidery or whatever, sometimes it's not easy to know you've created these lovely pieces, but what do I do with them? So actually what she's got here is you've got all these stitches, but you've got projects to make as well. You could start very simply with greeting cards, or you can go on and you can make, look at this sampler cushion. So you're learning all these different types of stitches, and you make this fabulous stitch cushion. And it is such a mindful occupation. It is slow stitching personified, it really is. This is something you do, you relax, you can do it on the move because you can carry it around with you easily. All you're talking about is having the thread, the fabric and a small pair of scissors, and you can stitch. You can create your own designs. So she's got some lovely designs here. And I love the maple leaf coaster, so a lovely quick one to make, and that's just using variegated thread. So very simple to stitch using a variegated thread. A pocket hanging. So lots of lovely ideas here. Lots of the lovely traditional, these long samplers, look at these, they're really, really beautiful. So you use 3 different types of stitching. It's all running stitch, it's called sort of stab stitch, and it's stab stitch, as Julie was explaining, because basically you're taking sort of tiny little stab stitches, you stabbed through the fabric and then bring it back up. So some really lovely ideas, another sort of sampler idea, something that you can do. So it's a really nice book. It is just £6.99 for this book with 8 different projects in, as well as lots of hints and tips on getting started. So a fabulous book there. We also, of course, have the ready printed kits, which we mentioned. So do have a look on the website for everything. So today we've had a dressmaking and a Sashiko day. But if you go over to www.sewingstreet.com, click on Watch Live, and then you scroll down and you can see we still have some of Tilly's books. We went through that beautiful book, fabulous for beginner dressmakers. We've got the early bird available. And then all of these fabrics. So this is this show. So these are fabrics we've just been showing you. They're all there. You can just look back on the website and you can pick those. So if you haven't yet chosen which one, you can go back and do so now. If you've bought something already, the post and package was already covered, so you won't be paying that again. So all of these things are still, look at those lovely yarns, those threads there. I love the colourful packet. And some of the pre-printed panels. So it's all on there, and it goes all back for all the shows we've had on the show today. We didn't bring the overlocker to you. We didn't have time to, but that is on there. So if you're interested in an overlocker, fabulous tool to have when you're doing dressmaking. And of course, the dress forms that we did look at, as well as the books and the fabrics again. And there's my fabric going up there. And then some of the dressmaking tools that we were looking at as well. So everything that's been on the shows today is on the website. You can also browse it for other days as well. So go to the top of the page. You've got sewing machine and overlockers. You've got fabric. So you can actually go into different categories and you can look. And anything that you buy today from the website, even if we haven't featured it on the shows today, will still count against your post and packing. So that really does cover everything. So let's look at what we have tomorrow. So tomorrow, John Scott will be with you, and he is starting the day at 8 o'clock with garden fabrics. And then at 9 o'clock, he's got animal applique cushions with Victoria Carrington, so she's joining him. And then we have got cross stitch and canvas. So it's another type of hand stitching. Very good. And nowadays you can do some really funky stuff with cross stitch. At 11 o'clock we've got tea light houses with Victoria Carrington. That sounds interesting. And then over to Yarn Lane at 12, where we have crochet socks and shawls. Now, we are also about to head over to Yarn Lane. So you need to go to the Yarn Lane website. It looks the same as the Sewing Street website. It's yarnlane.com. Click on What's Live. Obviously it's a repeat at the moment because it's live. And then you're going to see what we have today, which are these fabulous Sincerely Louise animal head kits, along with her book as well. She's here, she's going to join us in a few minutes, and she is going to show, if you check out anything from Yarn Lane, by the way, the same P&P covers you. So if you bought something on Sewing Street and you want to buy something on Yarn Lane, that same P&P is already paid and done and dusted for today. So if you're watching on telly, stay where you are. If you're watching on YouTube, head over to the Yarn Lane website. And if you're watching on Facebook, head over to the Yarn Lane Facebook page. And we'll see you in just a few minutes.